Hello there. Welcome, everybody, to part 6 spoiler review of Obi-Wan Kenobi here from the
Geek
Buddies!
And me, Laura Kelly.
Hey! Thank you all so much for joining us. Already 100 people joining us live. Thank you so much. Please hit that like button as we start here right off the bat. We are good. This is our latest start time we've ever done, so we thank you so much for staying up with us. Some of you might be waking up with us on the other side of the world, so we appreciate that as well. We're going to break everything down here that happened in this incredible emotional damage, everything that happened here in this episode, which was mind-blowing on so many levels. We might hear some criticism for some of you who are watching it. We'll deal with that as you bring it up. And of course, remember, Streamlabs and SuperChats are open. Get them in now. You see the address, they're pinned in the chat, so get them in now so we can answer them as we go along. But let's introduce ourselves. I am the Outlaw John Rocha, writer, producer, and host here on the Geek Buddies in the Outlaw Nation. Mike.
I am Michael Vogel. I'm a writer and producer of animated TV shows and movies.
Shan.
And this is Shannon McClung. I'm an animation writer and a television actor where you may have seen me on Brooklyn Nine-Nine, Silicon Valley, and The Goldbergs.
And joining us to wrap up this first season of Obi-Wan Kenobi, very gracious, and we're very blessed to have her, one half of the Force Toast Pod, one half of the Jedi Way, and full fan of Reva, the great Laura Kelly. How are you, Laura?
That's the perfect description. I'm just going to use that and everything going forward. I'm amazing. I'm very tired because it's 9:30 where I am.
Yes.
But I am just still riding high on this show from the finale that I watched like 2 days ago. I can't get over it. It's just, I watched it 3 times total, including right before this. So, yeah. And I intend to watch it many more times.
Agreed. It's a fast watch. I watched it again earlier this afternoon just to get me ready for the show tonight. And I was like, my God, it's over before you know it. There's so much to talk about for sure. We're going to get into all of it. And of course, we want to give some love to Carbon Health. Carbon Health, who powers and sponsors the Geek Buddies. Thank you guys so much for supporting us for so long. Head on over to carbonhealth.com if you've got any healthcare questions, concerns, or needs. They've also got an app you can download to put in your pocket as a dock in your pocket for any of those concerns and questions you might need. Maybe you might find yourself in a lightsaber battle and get half your helmet cut off, and you might need some aid and assistance there from Carbon Health. They've got 100+ locations all over the country, 80+ locations in California alone. So they're there to help you and create great healthcare plans, individualized healthcare plans, personalized healthcare plans just for you. Go to Carbon
I know
Health.
a lot of people have been asking about how Reva survived the lightsaber stabbing in episode 5, and it was actually Carbon Health.
Yeah. Carbon Bacta. Yeah, I agree. It's true. It was there. It absolutely worked. So we got so much to get into here, and the way we're going to do things. And remember, like I said, ladies and gentlemen, the Streamlabs super chats are open, so start sending them in. The way we're going to do this is going to break it down by storyline and get into everything here, and then we'll take a break, answer your questions, jump into the next storyline. So let's just jump right into it right off the bat. This Obi-Wan Kenobi story. I mean, he is the titular character in this particular series. So, Michael, overall, what are your thoughts on the finale before we jump into these storylines?
I love the finale. I have a couple of things that bother, like finale particularly, but I think once we've come to the end of it and you can look at the piece as a whole, there are a couple things that irk me. But they pale in comparison to what they got right. I think that the series was great. It's probably my favorite of the Star Wars series so far. I think we said this a couple times throughout our reviews. Like when they nail it, they really nail it.
Are you saying over The Mandalorian? This is you prefer this over any of the seasons of The Mandalorian?
I love The Mandalorian.
Oh my
and there are episodes of The Mandalorian that I am swept away by and love more than anything. But I think that the way that they actually used this series to deepen the relationship between Anakin and Obi-Wan beyond what we knew from Clone Wars Animated, beyond what we knew from Revenge of the Sith, beyond what we are told in A New Hope, the way that they really found a way to answer some of the questions that, Obi-Wan Kenobi says this in New Hope, and what does he mean? And actually make those things really emotional, and we can get into the details on that later, I think is really, really powerful. And I think that's where they really shine. I think as you look at a lot of comments that people have, you look on Twitter, there's people that love Obi-Wan Kenobi, there's people that don't love Obi-Wan Kenobi. And I think Star Wars is a really funny mixed bag. I think that Star Wars is when you squint and take a step back from the broad strokes, it's epic and sweeping and mythological and it all rhymes. I think Star Wars sometimes in the details, how you get from A to B to C, or why this character chose to do this, or why they showed up here, or how fast they got here, that's where they fall a little bit short sometimes. But like I said, those quibbles are minor in comparison to the fact that, holy shit, never thought we would see some of the stuff we saw in this finale, and we saw it, and it really, really, really got my geek tingles tingling.
Yeah. All right. Fair enough. You could argue that people have been waiting for some things in this finale for over 20 years, 2 decades. Laura Kelly, what are your thoughts overall about the finale?
I really enjoyed it. I have very few notes, so I'm looking forward to hearing what everybody's criticisms are, because I'm like, I have very few. I was just enthralled the entire time and very emotional the entire time. I would take this. Part of me kind of wishes that like the whole show would have been like hit after hit after hit like this, and like, you know, kind of building up to it. It was sort of a slow burn. But I think also if it had been like that, like this wouldn't have felt as epic as it did for me. And I think all of the sort of tie-ins, not even like tie-ins, but sort of some of the parallels that we got with like from Star Wars Rebels in this were particularly enjoyable for me from Twilight of the Apprentice. So that was a particular pleasure, I think, in this episode overall. But just overall, I think, you know, I got a lot of what I wanted with Reva. And going into this, I had a lot of predictions, basically just to set my expectations really low of what would happen to her. And I'm really glad that none of those came true. So overall, very pleased with how this played out.
Okay. Shannon, McClung, talk to us about your feelings here. You've been kind of in and out depending on the episode with this series. So how did you feel leaving the finale? How do you feel about it now a couple of days later?
It is nowhere near as good as The Mandalorian for me. I don't know if that is the episode count, that The Mandalorian had more time to kind of flesh some things out. The main thing, like just thinking of this particular episode, like I was really looking forward to it. It starts off, to me, there's some big logic issues that I enjoyed where we get. Like, I really enjoyed the duel. The duel was great. But some stuff that happens right at the beginning, we have some Game of Thrones series, season 8 travel issues, in my opinion, that I'm like, wait, what? How did that? No, wait. But overall, you know, I enjoyed it. It's not a show that I'll revisit. I will watch individual sequences, but I think some of the writing, again, it was just a little bit of a mess, and I think directorially it got better. But I just think there were just kind of some staging issues. Trying to figure out sort of the geography of certain areas was a little wonky for me. And again, I mean, I like those big moments, but I feel like this is a below average show with some above average moments.
Ooh, interesting. Okay. For me overall, I love the finale. I had such a great time as having been a lifelong Star Wars fan. And some of you may forget this, but I first started in this business co-hosting a Star Wars show far, far away. So it has a special place in my heart. Getting to see the connective tissues with the prequels, getting to see the connective tissues with the original trilogy, getting to see all of this come to bear finally in an episode that really reflects what I was hoping to see for the entire series. I think that's where Laura Kelly kind of hits it on the nose for me. If every one of these episodes had been this epic, it would have been awesome. But I'm reserving full judgment until I go back, and I'm going to binge it, maybe take a Saturday or Sunday coming up and just binge it all the way back. And maybe it'll connect even better than the way I feel about it right now overall. But this finale was worth the wait, was worth the 5 weeks of figuring out if this show had found its footing or not, if it understood what it was doing, because I think it really stuck the landing in this finale. And I can't say that with a lot of Marvel/Disney Plus shows lately. So I got to give it, Star Wars included, I got to give it some love there in that way. Okay, there it is. There's the face. All right, let's jump into the storylines here. We'll start off with Kenobi. We're going to go storyline by storyline. So let's jump in with Kenobi. Kenobi's here on the ship with Leia, Rocha, and Haja being chased by Vader. He realizes, they can't fix the hyperdrive in time. They're trying to take a detour. He realizes he's got to jump out in a separate ship, lure Vader away. He knows Anakin's going to want to come after him. So he has a nice exchange with Leia, gives Leia Tala's gun belt. jumps, and I love that back and forth where he says, she says it's empty, and he goes, I'm not going to give you a blaster, Leia. You're 10 years old. It's great. And then he gets into the ship, takes off, and has this moment where he's talking to Qui-Gon and says, it has to end tonight, Master. I have to face him one way or another. It has to end. And Rocha understands now that this is not about saving the ship necessarily, although that is going to happen. It's also about him confronting Vader. Lands on there, finds out that Leia has planted Lola in his tunic, so to speak. So leaves Lola in the ship, sees Vader. Vader goes out on his own. Vader tells the Grand Inquisitor, I'm going after Kenobi. The Grand Inquisitor says, what are you doing? We can wipe out this whole section of rebels here. And he says, no, Kenobi is what matters. And the Grand Inquisitor, who values his life, does not contradict Vader. And they go on, and then they turn the Star Destroyer heading towards Kenobi, chase Kenobi. Eventually, Vader gets out on his own ship, lands on this moon, and walks out to see Kenobi. And there's a great shot from the side here, from the far away, from the side, that is just beautiful. Evokes twin sons for me from Rebels, with Maul and Kenobi there. And they have a back and forth here. And Kenobi gets into his stance, which we know his stance, and they go at it. And it seems pretty even, the battle, so to speak. And it looks like Kenobi might have the upper hand. And then Vader says, oh, I see your strength's come back, but you've still got your weakness, and that'll be your downfall. Vader turns it around, hits the ground, uses the Force, achieves the higher ground as Kenobi is down there, tosses rocks upon him. Kenobi walks away. Kenobi starts thinking about Luke and Leia. That's what gives him the strength after he hears Vader and Anakin's words from both the prequel trilogy and from the recent encounter with Vader, and bursts through the rocks, or lifts the rocks, comes out, confronts Vader, gets the upper hand. It has this epic moment of raising the rocks and throwing at Vader, and then eventually strikes a blow after disarming his breathing apparatus, or shattering his breathing apparatus, strikes his helmet, has the scar on his head, has the back and forth with Vader, and apologizes to him, and Vader says, oh, you didn't kill Anakin Skywalker. I did. He says his goodbye to him, walks away, gets the closure, and then ends up later back on Tatooine to save Luke and have a great moment with Reva, and then eventually done. And we'll deal with the end sequences a little bit later. So that's the Kenobi storyline here, as Cliff Notesy as possible. So Mike, talk to me about your feelings about how they handled the Kenobi storyline up until this point in the episode.
So I do think, like, at the beginning, and when he's on the ship and he's saying he's going to go, so Vader's going to get him, all makes sense. It all tracks. I just wish you had a little bit more of that major turn moment. Like, we've been building to it. Yeah. He had some great scenes with Tala. Like, we've been watching him go from someone who was completely lost and hopeless to someone who was like, well, I'm going to save Leia, but that's it, to someone who's kind of jumping back into the fray. And we've really been seeing him on this journey, but I was really waiting for that moment, and he does have a nice speech. I was a little confused as to why everybody was like, no, you need to stay on this ship where they're shooting at. He's like, hey, if I leave, the big bad guy's going to leave, and they're like, no, you have to stay. And I was like, I think these people would be like, get the fuck off this ship. That's just me. I was a little unclear why they were so insistent on him staying, but okay, nice moment. But then once he gets off the ship and he heads to the planet, everything from that point forward, great. I really love the Darth Vader Inquisitor scene. That Grand Inquisitor was being sassy AF.
Yes, he was.
I was like, he pursed his lips. Like, I loved it. But you really did see how Vader was just single-mindedly focused on Obi-Wan to the point that nothing else mattered. Really, and even though the new trilogy is not my favorite, shades of Kylo Ren. Mm-hmm. There are shades of Kylo Ren to this Anakin / Vader at this point in his life as the Emperor's guy, where you see how his feelings about Obi-Wan are so overpowering. And this was the first moment of that. And then you get into this battle. The battle was great. Like, the physicality of, like, finally getting to see Obi-Wan Kenobi, like, be the Obi-Wan Kenobi that if you watched Clone Wars, you saw that we wanted him to be. Everything with the lightsaber battle, like, these two guys evenly matched. It was awesome. Seeing him, like, deep in the pit and, like, his vision being, like, about Luke and Leia and about the hope that they represent and that giving him the strength. All awesome. And then the entire exchange between him and Anakin. I know Laura will talk about this more, but watching Anakin or Vader get his helmet cracked, and knowing that the only other time that we have seen that was Ahsoka, so now his Padawan and his master are the only two people that have cracked Vader's helmet, got me good. It got me real, real good. And I think the way that they did, and again, this is just like Rebels Part 2, but the way that they used sort of Anakin's voice and Vader's voice and kind of flipping back and forth between the two, thought it was really, really affecting. But I think the best thing about all of this was when we get to New Hope and Obi-Wan Kenobi tells Luke, Darth Vader was a young Jedi that killed your father. We kind of all go, okay, well, he's kind of fudging it because he doesn't want to get into the details, so he's just saying whatever. But the way that this whole show works is that this is the moment that Obi-Wan Kenobi finally lets go of Anakin in a peaceful way.
Yeah.
Like earlier in the series, he could not talk to Leia about Anakin. Yeah. And at the end of the series, he tells her who Anakin was. So he's so caught up in like what Anakin has become and what has... He's all fucked up about it. And in this moment, in this battle, is the moment that he goes, okay, Anakin was my brother. Anakin was my best friend. That guy's not here anymore. Yeah. Darth Vader killed him. This guy. And then when he walks away and says goodbye, Darth, and doesn't say goodbye, Anakin, like that's what, to me, that's where this series lands real, real, real solid. I do really have a question about Star Wars characters walking away and not killing people. I'm really...
Well, I mean, they have no choice, dude. They've got to keep the story.
I know, going, but I mean, and like this, and again, everybody can get mad at me in the comments. Like, I get it. I mean, but look, Obi-Wan Kenobi left Anakin on Mustafaar with no arms and no legs and just said, cool, I love you so much, but I'm not going to put you out of your misery. I'm out. And then Darth Vader is like, hey, Reva, I know that you know my biggest, darkest secret, but I'm going to go ahead and leave you here. And then here he's like, hey, Space Hitler, maybe I could change a lot of things, and walks away. So I was just waiting for a kind of like in Batman Begins when Batman says to Ra's al Ghul, like, I'm not going to kill you, but I don't have to save you. Yeah. Like just some kind of line that caps it that makes me go, okay, that is me quibbling. I love the moments. I thought it was great. And I really just loved watching, sorry, I'm losing my voice. I really did love watching Ewan McGregor kind of take us on this journey. I thought he got to play Obi-Wan Kenobi in a way that he's never gotten to play Obi-Wan Kenobi before. Yeah. And it really brought this Anakin Kenobi relationship in live action to life in a way that I don't think that the combination of Revenge of the Sith and New Hope ever fully did. Yeah. This is like the bridge. Like this moment with them is really the bridge that makes Revenge of the Sith and A New Hope stronger.
Yeah. Laura, I mean, there's a lot here from Kenobi on the ship. You know, he is talking to Roken, says, you know, the movement needs leaders like you, says to everybody, you guys are the future. That's why I got to go. You guys have to be saved, not me. I'm going to go do something. I got old business to take care of, but you all have to be the future. Says the same thing to Leia, giving her the gun belt, saying, you know, you're not always going to be 10 years old. So he's clearly thinking that this could be it for him. And so he's kind of doing his last goodbyes in a way and doing some really good work. And he's now involved in the fight where we've been waiting. You know, he kind of was hesitant. It's been 10 years since he's been in the fight. Now he's in the fight, shows up on the planet, has this incredible lightsaber battle with Vader. We have he gets into the Form 3. He does the things that he does there. He has the back and forth with Vader. Vader does all the taunting. And then when he unleashes full Kenobi, as Michael just referenced, that's the most aggressive we've ever seen Ewan McGregor play Obi-Wan Kenobi. We've seen Obi-Wan Kenobi aggressive in the Clone Wars series, but not in live action, not like this. I mean, there was such a controlled fury. And then at the end, we see of the battle, we see this genuine emotion, genuine heartbreak, apologizing to Anakin, saying, I'm sorry for all of it. And Anakin, in a way, indirectly giving him the closure, saying, I killed Anakin. You didn't kill Anakin. Just like I'm going to destroy you, I am so far gone down this path. You're not saving me. You're not going to be able to save me. I have too much anger towards you, which kind of opens the door for Luke to do it later because it can't be Kenobi. So what did you think about how they played Kenobi out up until this point in the episode?
Well, I really like how it started very strong, I think, with all of this, these like little scenes with young Leia on this shuttle. I think that this was probably the strongest like chemistry these two actors had together, with young Vivian Lyra Blair playing off of Kenobi. I think that this was just, the chemistry was there. It was really perfect, and it was very touching. I mean, this scene in particular where she's like, these people are scared, and Lola helps take her mind off things, and he's like, well, maybe I should borrow her too. Like, these little moments were just so cute. And I'm going to circle back to the duel in a minute, and maybe I shouldn't jump to the end sequence, but Michael touched on something about, how we haven't gotten to see Ewan McGregor play Kenobi in this sort of way before. And one of the things that really struck me about the end sequence is when he laughs. He's got that like full-hearted laugh right at the end, and I'm like, I don't know if we ever saw like Ewan McGregor get to have like that full-hearted like laugh at any point in any of the Star Wars that he's appeared in, or even like Obi-Wan in like the Clone Wars. I don't even think we got it there. So that, like, the way that they tied their story up together with him and Leia was, I thought, just absolutely gorgeous. The moment with Roken where, he's like, people follow you, don't stop. And Roken's like, I'm just getting started. I'm like, is this hinting at a spinoff that we're going to get that I didn't ask for? I don't want the Roken spinoff. I want a different character spinoff. I've already talked about that. But it was an interesting moment that they kind of left it. And I wish that they would have spent more time building up this Roken character, so that moment would have just hit a little stronger. But if they're going to tease and spin off something, like, I'm still going to watch it. So I'm not going to complain about it. To get into the the amazing duel that we had on this unnamed planet. I don't know if we have a name for it yet, but the music in particular on this planet just sets the score apart so completely in this episode as a whole. The way that they're using the chorus and how it comes in so strong at the very beginning of this duel when he winds up and does his 2-finger point. Like, it's just perfect. I mean, right from the get-go, that whole thing is perfect, because his first thing that he says to him is like, let's see, I will do what I must. And Vader's like, well, then you will die. And that, I mean, we're straight out of Twilight of the Apprentice. Like, Deborah Chow really said, we honor what came before in this house, because there are so many homages being played to just that one sequence in Twilight of the Apprentice, the duel between Vader and Ahsoka. Not just in the way that the helmet breaks, but even like the way that Vader, or that Kenobi, charges at him. I mean, that was it felt very similar to the way that Ahsoka just like pounces on him like a cat in the Ahsoka, or in the Rebels series. I mean, Kenobi definitely comes at him with a lot more like manly aggression, I guess. It's not quite as graceful. But I kind of like that it's not quite as graceful. It's not quite as honed. Like, he still is, kind of finding his way back to like his ability to really strongly wield a lightsaber. And it just gets stronger and stronger as this duel goes on. And I love, obviously, the rock scene is like the best homage to The Last Jedi. I thought that was really perfect imagery.
Lifting rocks.
I think I saw like a little bit of criticism of like, this feels out of character for Kenobi to do this, but I'm like, I mean, he's just playing into Vader's hand. Like, Vader's throwing rocks at him. Like, what are you gonna do? You got to play with what you're given. You've got your lightsaber, and now all of a sudden Vader's like causing an earthquake in the ground with like, now we're getting like the flashes to Force Awakens. Like, we're paying homage to all of these great moments in Star Wars of the past. I just really enjoyed that, that duel in particular. It's really if you haven't watched it, there's like, you can watch the whole like 5.5 minute duel between Ahsoka and Vader and Rebels. It's on YouTube, but definitely watch the whole episode because it's great. In terms of the Obi-Wan, being buried under the rubble, another great moment, I think, where he's thinking of all of those moments with Anakin, but then thinks of, little Luke and little Leia, and it's like his Expecto Patronum moment was kind of how I interpret it. And it was just, I think, a really beautiful sequence, again, bringing like the chorus into the score. It was just, the whole thing was just perfection. Vader's line of Anakin's gone, I am what remains, shatters me every single time I have watched this episode. Hayden's performance here, I think, is just extraordinary. It's really wild to think this is the same guy from Attack of the Clones. It blows my mind. It doesn't connect somehow, but it's perfect. And
certainly when we hear him say that last bit, you hear Hayden Christensen's performance that you remember from the prequels when he says, "You didn't kill Anakin Skywalker, I did." That's Hayden Christensen as an actor, and you see the speech patterns. You're like, "Oh my god!" If they, the whole thing, we would have loved to have seen more Hayden. I think a lot of people felt that we would have loved to have seen more Hayden in terms of the face and everything like that. But getting this moment was really worth it. So, Shannon, thoughts on how they handled things here and on Kenobi and the shooting here? I mean, Deborah Chow, you've talked about Deborah Chow's direction. You've talked about the choreography. What did you feel about how they handled Kenobi on the ship, and then the battle with Vader here on the planet, the ups and downs, and then getting the upper hand at the end and winning, and the way it was framed from the long shots to the God's eye view to the close-ups with the choreography and everything? What did you think about this whole storyline with Kenobi up until this point in the episode?
So starting on the ship, I'm 100% with Vogel when that one woman's like, "We said we'd all stay together." I was like, why?
Well, he's a Jedi. Don't they feel more safe with a Jedi? I don't know.
Not if the ship is going to fly away when he leaves.
He's the reason that this gigantic Star Destroyer is going after them.
But it's a chance he's taking. They don't know that Vader's not going to turn the Star Destroyer and go like, "Well, fuck Kenobi."
I mean, he's pretty certain. But either way, it's like if there's a chance to get this ship off of our ass, yeah, try. And like I thought it was like the amount of people that were being evacuated versus how many people were there with the path. Where like I did think that was a nice moment where Obi-Wan's like, you've protected the Jedi. It's time for the Jedi to protect you. Like I thought that was a nice moment. I like the moment he had with little Leia as well. The whole blaster holster scene I thought was so funny. He's like, "I'm not going to give you a blaster. You're 10." Like a great, fun, light moment, followed by but you're not always going to be. Like that was a really nice acting moment from Ewan McGregor. I mean, he's just delivered a masterclass throughout the series. And I think that's what makes some of the other actors who don't necessarily have the talent of a Ewan McGregor, but they also weren't supported by the writing. Some of the characters. And I think that's why it makes some of those performances really kind of stick out a little bit. Like I think O'Shea Jackson Jr., with a very underwritten role, is doing a great job, especially compared to his body of work that preceded. Like to me, this is an O'Shea Jackson Jr. we've never seen.
So much hate. So much. And
hate. He's
good in Den of Thieves. He's good in.
He was not good in Den of Thieves. Let's talk about that. Let's talk about that English accent he throws on. Police. But let's stay positive. He's doing a really good job. He is making the most out of what they're giving him. The moment that Obi-Wan and Vader get on the planet and they have the duel, it feels like a lot of Deborah Chow's creative energy went to some of these really big moments, and she just didn't have enough for some of the moments that didn't turn out so well, especially thinking back to episode 1 and episode 2. Watching a fast Vader in live action was awesome. Like it was just so satisfying as an audience. Like this is the duel that we've thought about for decades and that we finally got to see. I liked that it was just a rough and tumble fight, and that there is that moment where Vader switches from using one hand to using two hands. Like he realizes like, oh, he's got his strength back. Like, yep, you still got your weakness, but at the same time, he realizes that he can't play with him like he was before. Like this is now an actual fight. The moment that he causes that little earthquake with his hand, awesome. I would think like there was definitely that moment of like, oh, is he about to say he's got the high ground? Because I would not be surprised if that was the case. I was very surprised that they chose for like him to just dump some more rocks on Obi-Wan and walk away. Like I don't think that was handled well, especially like this is the person that he blames for everything. Like I feel like you would want to see the light leave that person's eyes. That's just my villain thinking. The moment that Obi-Wan gets back up and there's that the where he's holding the boulders up, I fully expected we were going to see Qui-Gon then. And when he didn't show up, I was just like, man, maybe not. The conclusion of the fight, again, so satisfying. And the way they filmed the whole Hayden scene where the helmet is cracked open and the going back and forth between Hayden's voice and James Earl Jones's voice.
Yeah.
So well done. I mean, even like, and I know you guys already talked about it already, the lighting of the lightsaber, like when that red light really, really hits him. I was like, oh, this is so much fun. The conclusion really, like, I thought the conclusion was really bad. It's like, you have a Star Destroyer up there that could rain holy hell, and that would make Ewan have to run to leave. You have the Grand Inquisitor. Like, there are reasons for him to have to escape. And I think you can still get that great Vader moment of where he screams for Obi-Wan. I think you can still get that. It just made no sense to me, because even though it's like, yes, my friend is truly dead, this is still a very dangerous individual, and it would be better if we removed him from the board. So it just I feel like the writing, I feel like they really dropped the ball there.
Can I counter a little bit to you, Shannon? These are great points you bring up. Absolutely, well thought out points. I just want to counter a little bit, saying, well, isn't this Vader's hubris? Vader wants to do it himself, so therefore he wouldn't tell the Grand Inquisitor or the Destroyer to go after the ship. That would eliminate his ability to take him out once and for all. Because I saw Johnny from Resistance Broadcast say that they're 2-2. I don't think they're 2-2. I think Kenobi is 3-1 in this situation, and that's the problem here. And I think that's where because even the way Kenobi surrenders himself to Vader in New Hope, that is no kind of victory. Kenobi willingly surrenders himself, so he removes the victory even in that moment from Vader. Vader never fully defeats him. That's his vengeance on him. And so that's what drives Anakin to go after him aggressively every single time, because he's frustrated that he can't beat him. And I mean, having the Destroyer rain down and stuff to try to kill Kenobi, I think would have taken away something from him.
I mean, maybe, but I feel like what we got,
I get your points. I do get your
what we got just wasn't satisfying, because it just makes no sense that you have defeated this individual, this guy who is going to, again, cause terror throughout the galaxy.
Well, yeah.
Why don't you take him off the board? That's just, to me, that is an out of character decision, in my opinion.
I do think, and again, there's lots of ways that you can slice this, and Laura, you can speak to this a little bit about High Republic stuff, but like a lot of Jedi don't actually kill in cold blood.
Yeah.
Like
is that in cold blood though?
It is. It is. Yeah, no, it is. Like if you are like Obi-Wan Kenobi, I mean, and again, I'm going to say, like, this is not in the show, so I'm not saying that this is a justification. I actually agree with Shannon that I think Obi-Wan Kenobi just walking off maybe isn't the best way to wrap it up. But I think I do agree with John that, like, I don't think you want to have, like, the Imperial Star Destroyer, Stormtroopers, and the Inquisitor rescue Vader. That's not a good look for your big bad guy. So I would definitely not do that. But I do think Obi-Wan Kenobi, like, being like, look, you were my brother once. Like, I'm not going to kill you. Like, I can't do it. Maybe that's stupid. Maybe I should. But like the Jedi, like they make a really big point in a lot of the High Republic books that there are points where a Jedi probably doing the smart thing would have killed somebody, but they will defend themselves. And even the scene with Anakin and Obi-Wan in the flashback, Obi-Wan Kenobi is very clear on, like, it's all about defense. It's all about this. So I do think there's ways that you could have justified or explained or had that little cap on the scene that kind of like, we're like, okay, I accept that. They didn't do that. I think it probably needed a little something. I would say it probably doesn't need something quite as grand as what you're saying, Shannon, but I do agree that there probably was something a little bit missing there.
Yeah, and real quick for Laura's ones, the Kenobi kills Maul, he kills Grievous. Those are not his Padawans. Those are not his people that he's actually really cared about and loved. There is an element of that. So Kenobi wouldn't. It's Kenobi's way of having the closure and embracing the path of the Jedi once and for all is to not kill Anakin in that moment. And later when he tells,
but he's not Anakin anymore.
Well, yes, but
I mean, he literally says it. My friend is dead.
He does, but that takes time to process. It's an emotional thing. He's not going to process it in 3 seconds. I just think he's got a little bit of time. But again, Shannon, I think you make excellent points. You can absolutely make a case on that side of things. I just think there's a difference here. Kenobi, it would remove the closure if he was to kill Anakin. Laura, what do you think about that?
Well, I think part of it is, Yoda always talks about how, like, you use your lightsaber for defense, never to attack. And I think some of those lessons are hard learned. And yes, he's going at Vader and attacking him. But I think maybe part of him walking away is just being the bigger man, like having the high ground, if you will. I'm not sure. I don't know how to interpret it. It didn't bother me that it happened that way. I'm like, you gotta stay within the confines of what happens in the broad story somehow, and you can't just take him down right then and there. Yeah. So I don't know, but it didn't bother me. So
I mean, I understand from a character point of view that would be out of character for Obi-Wan to just saber him through the heart, but I feel like that something else needs to happen. And in that situation, that's why it was like, oh, that was great. Hey, you just walking away, boy, that's dumb.
Yeah, fair enough.
Just to be really clear in the chat, because I assume it was coming up because Rocha said it. When he kills Grievous, like, they're in the middle of a battle. Like, Obi-Wan Kenobi's also not going to just stand there and let somebody kill him. Like, he is there. Grievous is attacking him. Like, it's all going down. He kills Grievous. With Maul, when you watch that scene, I mean, yeah, he stands up. He raises his lightsaber, but he also just stands there. If Maul had just walked away, I think Maul would be fine. He wasn't going to go after Maul.
Right.
Maul goes in, guns blazing the way he always did, and Kenobi clearly learned some shit from Qui-Gon because he just is doing his chill mood. So I'm not saying that Kenobi never killed anybody. He was in the Clone Wars. There was a lot of people that went down. I'm saying that a lot of times with the Jedi, when in battle, they will defend themselves. They will protect others. If that means somebody has to die, then the Force wills it.
Yeah.
But they're not going to sit there when someone has been defeated and be like, haha, I got you, head chop. Usually.
Yeah, and I find that people who are getting so, and I see some people in the chat getting so upset about this. How come you all don't bitch about Batman letting Joker live all the fucking time? I mean, Joker kills a shit ton of people every single time, just like Peacemaker said. So it's just the way the story is. And anybody who's thinking he's going to kill Anakin, like, you can't. So they've got to make it work storyline wise. And yes, he kills Alderaan. He kills all these people for 10 years. He even says it at the end, which we'll get to. But their relationship is a different situation, and I don't know. I just think if you haven't been in something like that, it's tough to kind of decide what you would do in that moment and what have you. So, but I get people's points. I just think you got to think of it consistently across the board.
I'll defeat Rocha.
Sure.
But I won't kill him.
Right.
I'm going to walk away. I'm gonna walk away.
What did Anakin say to Kenobi when they were fighting the first time? You'll try. Oh, you will try. Exactly. Yeah. All right. Anyway, let's hit some of these Streamlabs super chats we're going through. We got a few of these that rolled through. The first one here from Big Phillip. Where is it? He says, a perfect slice of Star Wars. The duel was epic, acting and action from the top draw. Shannon got his Imperial March. Beru is badass, but the next few years take a toll on her, Owen, and Ben. Carbon Health won't recommend the blue milk diet. See you all in London in April, says Phil. Oh, thank you, Phil. Very kind of you, for sure. Adam Hitchcock says, the 4 droids I was looking for. Vogel as an exec. I know time is money, but Star Wars Episode 7 is, Stranger Things Episode 7 is 2+ hours. Why did Disney Plus give us multiple 30-minute episodes of their most anticipated property ever? Can you walk me through that decision? Thanks for everything you all do for us and for being the best show I've ever watched on YouTube and the 4th best Star Wars show. Sorry, Boba. May the Force be with you all. Mikey, can you walk him through it real quick?
I mean, look, we talk about this a lot. Like, I wish that Disney was just giving us 2.5-hour Marvel shows and 2.5-hour Disney shows. I do think that the difference being that, like, Stranger Things is a proven, like, that is like Netflix's one of their centerpiece shows. Like, they know that is one of the jewels in their crown. Disney has a lot of jewels in their crown. There's a lot of Star Wars coming down the pipe. There is a lot of Marvel coming down the pipe. And just given the budget of these shows, the special effects, like Stranger Things has a ton of special effects, don't get me wrong. Yeah. But Stranger Things also has a lot of practical moments. Stranger Things has a whole lot of, here's the kids in the basement, here we are on location on this city street, where it's not a ton of special effects. The Marvel shows, and most specifically the Star Wars shows, to make them look like we're watching a Star Wars movie, 90% of those shots are CG shots. 90% of the shots have some level of special effects, some background things, something on the volume, droids, prosthetic aliens, everything. So I think that for us to get things that continue to look Star Wars, the trade-off is we're not going to get the 2.5-hour episodes. Yep. Now, if Obi-Wan Kenobi continues to rock and roll and this limited series becomes a season 2 and we all freak out about it and it becomes a season 3, I could see Disney Plus and Lucasfilm getting to the point where they're going to give us, okay, well, we're not going to give you a limited edition, like a limited series. We're going to give you the Darth Maul movie. We're going to give you, coming this October, it's a 2-hour Darth Maul movie instead of a limited edition 6-episode series or something.
So on Disney Plus, you mean?
Yeah, exactly. So I think there's like, in the future, as they continue to figure out what we get super freaked out about and what makes us super happy and what we don't like, they might start giving us like something that's an event that's longer over, instead of giving us like 30 or 40 minutes over the course of 6 weeks.
Fair enough. All right, Stan Hemphill here. He says, Stan the man here. I love this episode. I'm an old man, and Star Wars is my therapy / philosophy. Long live the Jedi way with you and Laura. Thank you. I do feel, though, that if they cut the fluff and episodes down to maybe 3 episodes, it would have been an awesome Disney Plus Kenobi movie overall, kind of connecting with what you just said, Michael. Laura, what do you think? Do you think they should have cut it down to 3 and turned it into a bit of a movie, or what's your feeling here?
You know, it's a matter of opinion. I personally really like the series format. I like that I have something to look forward to for like, you know, week after week for a few weeks.
Yeah.
The alternative is that we get all this buildup for like a year of this new movie that's coming out, and then we go see it, and inevitably there are components of it that don't live up to your expectations or don't live up to the buildup, and you just kind of leave deflated. And I don't get as much of that with the series, so this is my preference. I like the series format. I kind of hope that they keep doing this, and from what it sounds like when Kathleen Kennedy's talked in interviews about this, it sounds like the movies really aren't going to be a priority for Lucasfilm. When it comes to Star Wars, I think it's going to be all about series for a while, primarily.
Yeah, Ryan Johnson. Sorry, guy. Ben Rayner says, hi, Rocha and gang. I don't know if I'm in the minority here or not, but I love this series and finale. This series probably is my favorite Star Wars show. Vader was awesome. All right. You're in the Michael Vogel.
Ben and Shannon in a room and have them duke it out.
Yeah. All right. Philip back again saying, I like the show. It's second to Mandalorian. Ewan and Hayden scenes were gold. Glad they finally showed how badass Obi-Wan is in live action. Yeah, I want to throw that out there for me. I just want to kind of opine on that as well. You know, someone was asking, oh, what does Kenobi do? Kenobi says, the great thing about Kenobi is that he could absolutely be the baddest MFN Jedi in the whole galaxy, but that's not his natural human instinct. It's not. He's too empathetic. He cares too much. He has too much responsibility. That's not his goal. I think he could go, if you removed his ability to connect with people and whatever, he could go toe-to-toe with the Emperor any day of the week, in my opinion. And I think he is possible. He could achieve that Yoda-level stuff, but that's not his goal. That's not his pursuit. So to see him dial into it just for a few seconds in this battle was fucking awesome.
Bold claim.
I'm just saying. I think he go toe-to-toe with that old man.
I don't know, man. He couldn't beat Dooku. So...
Christopher Lee's tough. Hunted _ Autumn says, absolutely love the finale and the show as a whole. I recognize it has flaws, but it brought me so much joy. All the new characters were a delight. Glad I could catch the review live. MTFBY, BWY. Do I know?
May the Force be with you.
Oh, okay. Too many anagrams this late at night. All right, let me see here. What else? Francisco Lopez says, hello there, Geek Buddies and Laura. The series is okay. For me, everything with Obi-Wan and Anakin, Darth Vader was great, and I like Leia, but everything else was okay to disappointed. I like Leia, and I understand why they made that choice, but come on, I don't want to see Obi-Wan in Adventures in Babysitting throughout the series. And Reva Moses Ingram was good, but I don't know what the overall purpose of having her and keeping her alive. That's just my thoughts. Have a nice day. Francisco, let's put a pin in the Reva comment because we're going to get to the Reva storyline here in just a second, so we'll address that. Cam Chapman is in here. What's up, Cam? It says, enjoyable series with 3 fist pump moments in the finale. 1, hello there. 2, the fight. 3, Obi-Wan and Leia's goodbye. All right, there you go. I think I agree with all of that for sure. Haskell in here says, hey, gang, like the series overall, even with its issues. Rankings, Mando Season 2, Season 1, then Kenobi, then Bad Batch, Visions, and then the Book of Boba Fett. Second, no one lost an arm. Blasphemy. Well, the woman in Tatooine lost a hand to Reva.
Oh, that's true. That is true.
Yeah, no, there was an appendage just severed. So I'm just going to put that out there. Let's see here. Father Son Galaxy says, love the Geek Buddies and Laura Kelly. I never miss a show. Keep doing what you all do. Shannon McClung is the man. Oh, who's this? Is this your uncle? Who is this, Shannon?
I have many uncles. They're all here supporting me.
Florida. All right, let me hit these right here. Philip again saying Vader is more powerful, but Vader's more powerful, but Obi-Wan is the master of Ataru and the source who styles the master. Just a geek opinion / observation. Yes?
I mean, well, it really does boil down to, I think Anakin / Vader is more powerful, is more aggressive, but also lacks the skill and finesse. And I think Obi-Wan is a little bit more of a thoughtful fighter.
Yeah, fair. Haunted _Autumn says, the moment Obi-Wan raises the rocks behind him got me a bit misty. This is Ben, fully enveloped in the Force, a la Rise of the Skywalker novelization versus Grievous.
Revenge of the Sith.
Oh, right, Revenge of the Sith, sorry. Novelization versus Grievous. You guys agree? Laura, what do you think?
I really like the raising the rocks scene. I thought it was great. In terms of being like enveloped in the Force with Grievous, I haven't read the Revenge of the Sith novelization. It's on my list. I'll get to it at some point. But I really like that terminology, actually, being fully enveloped in the Force in that moment. It really did kind of feel like that. That's a great description.
I agree. Adam Jimenez says, I'm a Star Wars fan and I like the prequels, and I'm tired of people saying that we need time gaps filled. I didn't learn anything new in this show. All this is inconsequential to the movies, and that is an inherent problem to me. By the way, sorry I missed the hot mic earlier this morning. Oh, that's all right, Adam. Yeah, do you guys... I think it is connected to the movies. I don't think it's inconsequential at all. I mean, closure is a really, really important thing in people's lives now. So I like that this franchise is reflecting that in its storytelling here with Kenobi and Vader.
I mean, I like the filling in of the gaps. I mean, I think there are some things that Vogel had pointed out a couple episodes ago that there are going to be discrepancies. I don't think all of the discrepancies were necessary. I think there were things they could have done to alleviate some of that. But I mean, I like finding out what it was like, these gaps in time. I mean, I loved seeing, even though like, some people might argue that Hayden was just in a suit. I liked seeing a younger Vader. And again, just watching that speed of that fight, to me was just so, again, just as an audience member, it was just so satisfying.
Yeah, the Vader in a suit. I mean, like, Pedro has taken the helmet off, once or twice? I mean, we've seen Pedro as the Mandalorian. So in our minds, that's who we see. So maybe if the voice was a little closer to Hayden's, but it was a mixture of both. So I don't know. I get the complaint, but I would have liked to have seen her out of the mask a little bit more, but it is what it is. Hayden, just from Jacob Lozano, Hayden's facial acting with that slight devilish smirk at the end, telling Kenobi that Vader killed Anakin, was phenomenal. So glad Hayden had that opportunity. Yes, Laura?
I 100% agree. I wanted to bring this up too. Like, not only just some of the lines and the line reading that we got from Hayden, but some of those facial expressions. I mean, there's one line in particular, and I don't remember what it is, and I'd have to scroll through my notes to find it, but where he just sounds so sad. And it's just like, it's just crazy to me to think that this is like the same guy that everybody was putting down so severely in 2002 when Attack of the Clones came out, because I thought that this was really, really well done. Not even, it was a whole combination of people that needed to make that all come together, right? Like, it was, the James Earl Jones voice being however it's programmed into Hayden's being mixed together. It's the people who did the makeup, and whatever contacts he's wearing is like, looks painful, but like, good on him that he committed, and it worked 100%.
Yeah, I agree with that 100% as well. It's great to see him come back into the role and get a chance to have that kind of emotional back and forth with Kenobi, for sure. Let's see. Ronan Unchained says, hello, John and Laura. Finale was great. Glad we finally spent time with Owen. What's wrong? Did I say something wrong?
These other two are chopped liver. Sorry.
Sorry.
Me and the other side of chopped liver. We'll just be quiet.
I apologize.
Yeah, I'm all right. It's cool, everybody.
John and I met Ronan's at Celebration, so maybe we get the personal greeting.
That's true. Hello, John and Laura. Finale was great. Glad we finally got some time with Owen and Beru. The series is good, but not great. Episodes 1 and episode 6 are strong, but the middle gets extremely muddy. Tala is was a great new addition to Star Wars. Can't wait for Mando 3 and Ahsoka. Thank you, Ronan. Very kind of you, and I'm sure it was implied Shannon and Michael as well. Oh, yeah. Wayne Edwards, thanks so much for this nice donation, and said, as a lifelong Star Wars fan, I would say I was overall disappointed in the series. However, there were great moments I loved. I watched episode 4 right after. It had an entirely new feel to it. The connection between Luke and Obi-Wan felt even deeper after seeing part 6. So I like that.
I did the same thing. I went and watched a bunch of like specific scenes in New Hope right after finishing the finale, and it does actually give a little bit of a different shade to things. It was really, really nice.
It's different. I haven't had a chance to do that yet, and I'm jealous. I want to. That's on the docket for the weekend, I think.
Nice. Suck says, does anyone remember when we first saw Star Wars and was confused that Obi-Wan didn't kick ass and just disappeared? Felt like people forget that moment. Interesting. Okay. Mike, what do you want to say on that? Do you want to say something real quick?
I mean, look, absolutely. Look, there are definitely things in the original trilogy, in the prequels stuff. There's always going to be things like, oh, we didn't get that explained. And to the previous point, you don't always need things explained. Like, you can absolutely go and just tell new stories. Like, did we really need the prequels? No, the original trilogy, like, it was all set up. But then we got the prequels, and we got this whole story, and we got all these new characters, and we got all these new planets, and we got all this new just history.
Yeah.
And that was good. Did we really need the Clone Wars? No, we didn't. Like, the movies made sense, and Anakin and Obi-Wan did what they needed to do, and he became Darth Vader. But then,
slow down. All right.
But then the Clone Wars deepened our understanding of the clones, gave us new characters like Ahsoka, really like kind of solidified that relationship between Obi-Wan and Anakin. So at every point, it's like, do you need something? No. Do you need to explain everything? No. But when you do it really well, that's great. Now, did this series do all of it really well? I think it did a lot of it really well. Some of it not so great. So I think the complaints are less, I didn't need this at all, and more, I don't feel like this adequately filled in the gaps in the way that I wanted it to.
Fair enough. Yeah.
Real quick, just to the Obi-Wan disappearing. There was a real, I don't know if you all have seen this, there's a very funny meme where they have that moment of, Obi-Wan disappears, Vader steps on the robe, and the caption is, Vader stepping on that robe like Obi-Wan might be under there. I saw that just made me laugh.
Awesome.
Vogel trying to fool everybody. He understood trade route shit in that prequels. Come on, Vogel, give me a break. You know you didn't understand that shit.
I'll tell you all about trade routes.
Please. Right?
And the taxation of them.
Yeah, exactly. It's for kids. Right now and later, I had my doubts when the series started, but by the finale, everything came together for me. I'd love to see Reva in her own series. Well, right now, thank you so much for giving us that segue, because that's the next storyline we're moving into. Ladies and gentlemen, keep sending in your Streamlabs and your Super Chats as we go along. Let's go into this storyline here with Reva. She opens the episode here. We're on Tatooine, seeing the different species and droids roaming around. Some random angry dude steps in line to get some water, and the water gets forced.
The guy from episode 1.
He's not a random.
Is that the dude?
He's the boss.
That's the same guy.
From the sushi,
sorry
the sushi
about that.
factory.
Yeah. That's the same dude from the sushi factory?
Mm-hmm.
Ooh, Tatooine.
The boss.
Tatooine is rough on people. I didn't recognize. All right, fair enough. Reva knocks the water out of his hand and wants to find Owen. Later, we see Owen and Luke and Owen walk into a bar place, and they're looking for a new belt for a speeder. The guy from the opening who was there handing out the water walks in to tell him that Reva is looking for him. Owen and Beru prepare for Reva coming. They apparently have arms stashed. And by the way, one big complaint, Bonnie Piesse was fucking great in these scenes, and it is a damn crime that she keeps getting less screen time every time that she appears in Star Wars. For God's sakes, if you're going to have a spin-off series with Reva, give me more Bonnie Piesse, because I thought she was great. Beru tells them, because Owen wants to run and find some other place, maybe put other people in danger for hiding them. Beru says, no, we will not run. We are enough, you and me. She says we knew this day was coming. She will come when the sun goes down. Let's get ready. Then Owen tells Luke that the Tuskens are coming after him, so he needs to hide. Luke says, I'm not afraid. Where have I heard that before? The Empire Strikes Back. Reva shows up at Owen and Beru as they get ready for battle. Reva lights her lightsaber as she enters. Owen and Beru launch their attacks on her from behind. She fends off their shots. Reva knocks down Owen, makes a comment about his love for the boy, and he says, in essence, he takes ownership of the boy. He gets some shots in on her before she splits whatever the hell he's carrying, and then he asks what she wants, and she says justice. She knocks down Owen. Owen calls out for Beru. Beru gets a shot in on Reva, tells Luke to go. Luke takes off into the night. Reva in pursuit. We go off into the mountains, and essentially at the same time in the episode, we're having both Luke and Kenobi hide out or run out into the mountains being attacked by someone who's connected to the Sith or is a Sith. Reva stops to look as she walks into the rock formations, and Luke works his way around. Eventually, Reva hunts him, uses the Force to bring him down, knocks him out. Kenobi senses Luke is in danger, takes off to Tatooine on some incredible hyperdrive ship. Reva sees Luke knocked out of the bottom of the formation, lights her saber, sees herself instead, remembers what Anakin did to her in the younglings. And there's something in Anakin's face when they do the close-ups of her remembering. There's something about him like making a little, like almost like a little bit like he sees something in her. She raises to strike, but does not do it. We see her coming out after Kenobi lands, sees Owen and Beru. They start to go look for Luke. Then we see Reva come out with Luke in her arms, puts him down. They think he might be dead. Luke stirs, and he's alive. Owen and Beru take him away, and Reva's there on the ground in front of Kenobi saying she couldn't do it. She cries because she wanted vengeance for the younglings and couldn't do it. But Kenobi gives her the closure by saying, you honored them by showing mercy. They can now be at peace. She lays down her Sith weapon. He says now, and stands up. He says now, you can go be what you want. You are at peace. We both are. And that's basically the end of the Reva storyline. Laura, you have been a big Reva defender throughout this whole series and throughout our reviews. So talk to me about how they handled and wrapped up Reva's storyline in this particular episode.
Well, I love that she was the one that opened the episode, and it took me 2 watches, but when you watch the second time, you can see her actually like approaching in the background, and I kind of like that. We build up to that. She doesn't just appear out of nowhere. We kind of see, and she's worse for wear. I mean, she's not well, like after being stabbed now twice in her life through and through, and somehow survived. I would love to know the answer to that. I don't need it to survive, but I would love to know. How are we surviving this? Not once, but twice. But I like that we're reopening with this guy who was Kenobi's boss at the very beginning of part 1 of this series, and he has the same line where he turns to her and says, "Something you want to say," or something you want to say, and she's got the reaction. The strong reaction that we didn't get from Kenobi in part 1, where she uses the Force to knock that drink right out of his hand. And, then she says, I'm looking for this farmer named Owen. So she's obviously she doesn't have the best intentions at this point in the episode, but I like that sort of counterpoint that we're getting between how the series started and how she ends this interaction with this same guy. Her sort of, closing in on Beru and Owen, and she's like flinging crates at them, and I think Owen throws like a potted plant. There's a lot of plants in the Lars homestead.
Not the flowers, Beru, not the flowers.
I can relate. Lots of plants in this house too, but I think at one point Owen holds up some sort of like pole-like thing that kind of looks like what we saw in A New Hope in the trash compactor scene. So I like whatever that is. I like that we're bringing little things like that back. It took me, and I want to read this tweet that we got earlier tonight, because I'm not the only one that wasn't picking up on this. I was very confused by why she was going to Tatooine, because I didn't understand like how she knows that Luke is Vader's son. Why does she think that getting revenge on Vader by killing Luke is going to do anything? Like, how could she possibly know that? And I was just approaching it the wrong way, because let's see, their name is just NB Nola. Their username is a little bit more intense, but it says, I'm kind of surprised that some folks don't get how killing Luke was justice. I mean, Vader killed her friends. Obi-Wan didn't protect the younglings from Vader, but is protecting Luke because he's more important than the other younglings. So killing Luke hurts Vader and Obi-Wan. So I didn't make that connection, and I'm glad that this person explained it, that like it's revenge on Kenobi. It's not revenge on Vader that she's going for. And I sincerely appreciate that explanation, because like I said, I know I'm not the only one that was thrown off by this. So I'm glad that somebody was able to explain this. I wish that like the episode would have explained it a little more clearly. Maybe I'm just an idiot and I just didn't like pick up on it when I should have. But that just wasn't clear to me from the beginning. I already hit on the music in this episode. I thought that the like bringing in some of these like, very tragic tones with the chorus was very strong, and we see that a lot with Reva scenes on Tatooine as well, in addition to the Vader duel. But her standing over Luke and seeing her younger self there, and then flashing back to her, Vader looking down. And I agree, John. I didn't pick up on that, but he does look at her with a sort of skepticism, almost in those Order 66 scenes. Yeah. It's kind of cool, but she does the full wind up and then just starts to cry, and she's really struggling. And I'm glad that we finally got this moment. Like, again, I kind of wish that they would have, I don't know, built up to it sort of differently with this character. I've really enjoyed her storyline through this whole series so far, but I agree with some of the criticisms that I think there are some things that just could have been handled a little bit differently story-wise. But the fact that, we kind of get the fake out of, like, did she kill him? Like, we all know she didn't kill him, but they don't know that. And then when he stars into, we kind of can see, like, okay, like, this isn't the person I think that we thought. This isn't the villain we thought we were going to get at the end of this. I really thought for a second when she picked up her lightsaber while she's kneeling in the sand that she was going to, like, impale herself with it. I don't know if anybody remembers the concept art that came out right before Rise of Skywalker of the Domhnall Gleeson character. I don't remember what his name is now. Yes, Hux, like, standing over with, like, a lightsaber, like, in his gut, where he, like, basically killed himself in the scene that was, I think, from Duel of the Fates. It may not have been Rise of the Skywalker art, but as soon as I saw her kneeling with that was immediately what came to my mind, and I was like, no, I don't want to see that. Number one. Number two, being stabbed has been unsuccessful in killing her twice. It's not going to work again.
She succeeded where others had failed.
She might.
Let me show you how it's done.
Kari right there in the sand. Yeah, no.
Yep. Yeah, that's what I thought was coming, and I'm glad it wasn't that. But, like, that very end scene with her where she's kind of looking up and she's got this sort of, like, resolve. It's not 100% there, but she's starting to, like, kind of, the wheels are turning and the resolve is sort of coming, and I just want to know what's next. And somebody said earlier in one of the chats that, like, these stories are inconsequential, they don't change anything in the movies, and they don't have to. I like some of the smaller stories in Star Wars. That's what all the books and comics are. They're not going to change the movies or change the but the fact that we're getting these smaller stories, that's okay to add smaller stories to this time period, whether it's filling in a gap in a consequential way or it's just, that's Star Wars storytelling. It can be a small story and still be good. Yeah. And for me, that's what this series was. It was a small story that just kicked ass, and it knocked it out of the park for me. And I really just want to know what's next for this character in particular.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you, Laura. I think if we'd had a little more time, that's why you cast someone like Moses Ingram for that final sequence. I mean, her acting in that sequence was fantastic. Those tears felt from deep within her, like almost uncontrollable, all this pain that she's been carrying for years. And then having that moment where Kenobi gives her the closure, meets her at her level. She stands up to meet him at his level when he's finally kind of ready to put this to bed. And it's great. And there's a power in that. And I think also someone said, and I said this when I did my review a couple days ago, just impromptu reaction. Luke Skywalker rather, says, hurt people. Reva broke the cycle of abuse. It's true. Sometimes people who are bullied become the bullies down the road in order to defend themselves because they haven't come to terms with the pain of those situations. And this is the same thing. She saw that if she did what she did, if she killed Luke, she would have essentially become Anakin for someone else all over again. And she wanted to break the pattern. She sensed instinctively and organically she had to break that pattern, and she did. And Kenobi gave her that closure by saying, you actually honored the younglings. You didn't dishonor them. You honored them by showing mercy, which is the Jedi way. So there's now an open path for her to choose to do whatever she wants to do with her life, because she spent all those years, just like Inigo Montoya. Now that he's got his vengeance, he doesn't know what to do with his life. He's telling her she's got other things that she can do with her life. Now, Shannon, what did you think about the Reva storyline here and how they wrapped it up in the finale?
So I did not have the same experience.
Okay.
The way it started with her on Tatooine, this is all the writing. A gravely injured Reva crawling on the ground, bandaged herself up, somehow found a ship and got to Tatooine the whole time that the Star Destroyer is chasing the ship with Rocha and Obi-Wan. I'm like, that makes no sense. That timeline does not add up at all. Like, now, I had no issue with what happened in the story. I'm wondering if was there a different way to tell it? Was there a way to tell it more sequentially? Like, we have the whole thing with Obi-Wan and Vader, and like we don't see Reva. Like, we could think that Reva is gone. Right. Obi-Wan gets back to Tatooine and suddenly Reva's there. I think that maybe makes for a more exciting story. Like, I get why you want to intercut, because intercutting makes it more exciting. But in this case, it just doesn't make any sense timeline wise. And that was the thing that really stuck out to me. Now, the moment they started the duel, I'm like, oh yeah, I don't care now. As to why she wants to go after Luke, I mean, it's like, okay, this is a damaged individual. Like, her logic might not be sound. But the whole thing about, like, she wants to hurt Obi-Wan, she wants to kill Luke to hurt Obi-Wan, to me, that makes no sense, because she's killed Jedi before. Like, why is she so focused on Obi-Wan? Like, there were a multitude of Jedi who weren't at that temple to protect her. So why is Obi-Wan so special?
Anakin was his Padawan, and he had a responsibility for
we talked about that before. I don't buy that.
You don't buy it. It doesn't mean it's not logical.
No. I'm saying I'm speaking my opinion right now.
It certainly means that it's not in the script.
It certainly means it's not in the script.
Fair enough.
Is it a valid assumption that that might be why she has feelings about Obi-Wan? Absolutely true. But this is the issue with anything, with Star Wars, Marvel, DC, and they put that, like, if we are all sitting here arguing it and everybody in the chat has a different opinion and we're like, well, it could be that, but it's not that, it means that they didn't say it in the movie.
Or didn't do a good job of explaining it. That's a fair point, Mike. Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, looking at the writing of the show, I hear Vogel's voice in my head. And I'm like, if I were to turn this script in, what would I hear? And I would have been given a litany of notes. Moses Ingram's performance, especially in this last episode, was dynamite. It was fantastic. Her chasing down Luke, again, from the writing, the thing that, you know, when we meet Luke in A New Hope, is this is a kid who has led a very boring life. And I think the fact that he was stalked in the deserts, I think that would kind of stand out to him. So again, I mean, just from a writing standpoint, I think that was a mistake. Now, I get that there are going to be discrepancies, but I don't know. I just feel like Reva's story was probably not written the best, which is too bad, because the broad strokes of it, I really liked the character. I liked seeing where she was going. But I think ultimately this is where they kind of dropped the ball. I mean, you could kind of see it throughout the series. There was going to be the Obi-Wan movie. There was going to be the first version of this series. And then there was this version of the series. And it seemed like you got three different things kind of at battling with each other. And not one kind of came out great, in my opinion.
Okay. Fair enough, Shannon. Michael, thoughts on the Reva storyline? Where do you land on this and how they wrapped her up here in this finale? From the beginning, looking for Owen and looking for Luke rather through Owen and Beru, and then the closure she got at the end from Kenobi.
I think Reva is kind of what I was talking about. Star Wars has this like sort of sit back and squint thing going for it. When you take a step back and just squint your eyes and just take in Reva as a whole, the youngling that saw her friends killed by Anakin Skywalker, vowed revenge, grew up, became an Inquisitor, single-mindedly focused on getting close enough to Vader to kill him. Yeah. And then getting to the point where she is confronted, where she has an option to do exactly what Anakin did to her friends, and she's about to do it, but she doesn't do it. It's a great fucking story.
Yeah.
Great character. Great story. So the people that are like loving Reva and are like, I want more Reva, I'm fascinated, I get it. Like, it is broad strokes, it's a great story. Specifics, it gets real janky, real fast.
Okay.
And when you kind of take the whole series as a whole, it starts with, and we all talked about this when it happened in the second episode, like, it has been well documented in the comics, in the novelizations and anything, that Darth Vader will kill anyone who knows he's Anakin Skywalker.
It's true.
Jocasta Nu, sweetest little old Jedi you ever did see, told some stormtroopers that Darth Vader was Anakin, he killed every stormtrooper and then killed Jocasta Nu. Like, he is going to kill you. So this fact that she knows this giant secret and tells Obi-Wan Kenobi about it, and then Darth Vader's like, I knew the whole time. I'm like, you would have killed her. So like, from the get-go, it gets a little shaky.
Okay.
And then, like, we talked about this too, like, there was moments like she cuts off that woman's hand in the first episode, but then she kind of feels like she's not super mean, and we're like, oh, maybe it's an act, we don't know. Like, I just think they were a little bit uneven with her throughout. And then I don't know that I fully buy, like, I think that Laura's first impulse on the Luke thing was right. What was her goal with Luke? Like, she hears this Bail Organa janky message, like, Darth Vader just killed her. Her goal, I'm going to kill Vader, utterly fails. Her, like, Vader and the Grand Inquisitor leave her dead. And she goes, okay, my overall goal, my driving force as a character is I want to kill Darth Vader. But Bail Organa's talking about this Luke kid and says he's important. I think I'm going to go there. And then she gets there and, like, why attack him? He's important because why? Like, there's not a real reason. So again, what happens at the end, that moment, everything that you, Johnny, and Laura were talking about, like her looking at Luke, but seeing herself, and then seeing Anakin and the way Anakin kind of looks at her, like, it's all really, really well done. But the road to getting there didn't quite fully coalesce from a logic standpoint.
Okay.
And I think it's a shame because I do think Moses Ingram does great work. Like, her crying at the end there and her looking at Obi-Wan and being like, am I him now?
Right.
Like, just the whole thing, like, all of it was beautiful. Like, the emotion of the moment is great. And I think that Reva as a character has, whether she gets a spin-off series or we see her in other things going down the road, I think she's got a long history ahead of her in comics and novelizations where they're going to take this character and fill in the story of where does she go after this, now that she's not single-mindedly focused on this. I think there's cool stories there. But I do think that Shannon is right. Like, just the logic of getting how she got there didn't quite do it for me.
Yeah. Well, and the other part of it is also, remember, Ahsoka started out as one of the most hated characters in Star Wars when she was first introduced, and now is one of the most beloved. So we may be in a place where Reva's story was a bit uneven. It worked for Laura pretty much, and then for other people, maybe not as much, or only halfway there. It does not mean there isn't time down the road for other content to come out, as you said, Michael, if she's got a long life in Star Wars, to redeem a little bit of the issues here and make her one of the most beloved characters and interesting characters in Star Wars for sure. So, and certainly Moses Ingram has the chops to do that with the material, if the material can step up to her level as well. All right, so let me hit these Streamlabs real quick before we jump into the final sequences and some of these super chats. Let's see here. Wayne Edwards says, hey, great job on these spoiler reviews, guys. I have aligned with Shannon 100% on this show. Thank you for pointing out the holes in the plots and the blah action choreography at times in this series. Why are stormtroopers so dumb? LOL. Oh, brother, we do not have time to get into why.
I've been asking that question since 1977.
Yes,
like, now's not the time.
Yeah, thank you. We've been doing that for 5 decades. The Jim fan says the finale really stuck the landing for me. Kenobi versus Vader was epic. Few issues I had. The Inquisitors felt useless, and Reva as a character is great, but fitting her story fitting her into a story that could be its own series into Kenobi just didn't work for me. Yeah, I've heard some people complaining that I came for a Kenobi series and I got a Reva series, and I think there is some validity to those complaints, but I think that has to do with what Shannon and Michael pointed out here, the writing. It wasn't as seamless and organic as you wanted it to be, so that we could really fall in love with a new character and their storyline while we're falling back in love with another character that we've loved or that we've enjoyed for years. It could have had a better balance here. What do you guys think? Do you think that's maybe the issue why it feels this way? Like it feels like a Reva series instead of a Kenobi series, or some people feel that way rather?
I think that this show is kind of a two-hander. You do have this Reva story going on, and even though she is the one that gives Obi-Wan Kenobi certain bits of information, once that information is given, you got Obi-Wan and Leia over here, you got Reva over here, and so I do think it's a two-hander, and I think that when you have a show like Kenobi, every character in the show, it has to be like, well, how does this character, move the plot forward, but also tie into whatever the main character's journey is. And I think that Reva's journey was closer to Anakin's journey, and she didn't have a ton to do with Obi. Like I think Tala had more to do with Obi-Wan Kenobi. Like like all the other characters that showed up in Kenobi's life, Leia included, had more to do with getting him back on the path, while Reva was kind of doing her own thing. So when people say it felt like two shows, I think there's some validity to that.
Okay, fair enough. And our friend Mark Sloan in here is saying they try to do too many plot lines in this few episodes with this level of writing, for sure. Mark,
I don't think it's too many plot lines. I just think they weren't done well.
Yeah. Fair enough. Okay. Let me hit some more of these super chats real quick. See if I can bring them up onto the screen. If not, I will just read them. Haunted_Autumn says, whatever the Kenobi series was or was not, I have 3 words. Vivian Lyra Blair. What a gem. What a performance. Thanks to all here for providing a place to discuss Kenobi with some nuance, a rarity nowadays. Oh, thank you, Haunted. I appreciate it.
She really, and I mean, like, I think you said, you nailed it. That little Leia, I would watch her for days.
Yep.
You could show me, you can do a spin-off series of Leia having diplomatic meetings on Alderaan, and I would watch every episode. I would be in. Like, I love her so much.
Yeah, I do wonder if there is going to be life for little Leia after this. Whether even it could be animated, like the Adventures of Leia and Lola. I mean, I think there's so much potential. There's so much potential with that character.
Did you say Lola? I can't even say. Jacob Lozano says, I like that Obi-Wan was able to create a teachable moment with Reva and telling her that she didn't fail anyone, that her life path begins now. I agree, Jacob.
I agree.
I liked it. I know.
No. I like
a lot of people.
If we're gonna do that with everybody, then no one gets redeemed. I don't understand. Yeah.
I mean, Luke redeems Darth Vader at the end, and he's Space Hitler. So let's just Star Wars inherently, thematically, Star Wars is about redemption. Like Star Wars is all about redeeming somebody. Like at no point does Luke go, "Hey, Dad, thanks for saving my life, but you did blow up a lot of planets and kill people." Like we love the moment like Luke does it. Now do Reva and Kenobi have the connection that Luke has to Anakin? No, not necessarily. But I do, like I said, I agree. Like that Moses Ingram, like despite how we got there not being perfect, when she puts Luke down and she breaks down crying and Kenobi's like, look, you honored them. You get to choose whatever you want to be now. I think that moment is great. I think that is a home run moment. I just wish we had gotten there a little bit differently.
Yeah, I mean, the thing with this is, guys, this is a symbolic story. It's not fucking supposed to be like, oh, they killed 10 million people. Why are we redeeming them? No, it's a father-son story. That's what it is. If you get lost in that shit, you're just going to fall into black holes and never come out because you can put that.
Kenobi and Reva isn't a father-son story.
What's that?
Kenobi and Reva isn't a father-son story.
No, I'm saying the Vader stuff. You keep calling him Space Hitler. I'm saying it's a father-son story. That's why Vader, the redemption in that moment is so moving and powerful. And it was like, oh, he threw an old man down a chute. It's a little bit more than that. It's a little bit fucking more than that, you know?
But hold on. Like, I was pushing back a little bit on this. Kind of to Shannon's point about what he was saying is, it's a beautiful moment when Luke takes Darth Vader's helmet off and sees his father, and he goes, tell your sister you were right about me, that he still had good in him, that he was a good person. He also dies 2 seconds later. Yes. So the big bad guy who killed millions of people is dead.
Yes.
The movie, I don't know that Return of the Jedi and the Star Wars trilogy as a whole would carry the weight that it carries if Luke was like, hey, Dad, I'm glad you're okay. And Darth Vader was like, thanks, son. I know I killed millions of people, but I'm off to Scarif for a beach party, and just took off. Well, so I do think that, like, inherently, Return of the Jedi works because there is a moment of forgiveness, and that is the big epic mythological moment. Right. But then the bad guy does die.
Right, exactly.
Ben Solo too, or Kylo Ren.
Yeah. But with Reva, she's young. There is life to change it around to make up for all those lives. So that's the difference.
She killed hundreds of people.
Yeah, and you know what? She'll save hundreds more, and then the balance will be fine by the time.
You don't know. She might just go become a moisture farmer.
Look, if those people knew Kenobi wasn't gonna, never mind. All right, let's move on. Come on, we're gonna get lost. Anyway, let's jump into some of these end sequences here. Oh wait, I've got to block a bot that's in here acting like an ass. All right, there's
Naked HD XY.
yeah. I got. This person keeps showing up. It's very strange. All right, let's hit these end sequences, and we'll hit them all, then talk about them cumulative here. We head to Mustafaar. Vader tells the Emperor that the probes are tracking every system in the range. They will destroy everything in their path until he's found. Emperor says, you seem agitated. Vader says he will not evade him again. It means Kenobi. And the Emperor asks him, I wonder if your thoughts are clear on this, Lord Vader. Perhaps your feelings for your old master have left you weakened, if your past cannot be overcome. This is the third master who has told Vader and Anakin to let go of the past. And even if the Emperor is giving you advice, son, you've got to work some issues out. Vader says, Kenobi means nothing. I serve only you, my master. And the Imperial March plays, which is great. We head to Alderaan, where Leia is putting on Tala's gun belt, her boots. Breha notices she has on a holster, and she approves. She walks out. Bail Organa and her have a really fun exchange. She said there are many ways. She says to him, you said there are many ways to lead. Looks like I was right. I'm going to do this. I'm going to want to change things. Let's change things together, which is really sweet. Then Kenobi shows up. Leia's happy to see Lola. Bail says we can never repay you. Kenobi says she has done that. But they talk about the future and the Empire getting stronger. If you need my help, you know where to find me. Let's hope that day never comes. Then Leia and Kenobi have a really sweet chat. She says, he should get some sleep. And then Kenobi drops what you just alluded to, Michael, a few minutes ago. Kenobi tells her, when I told you I didn't know your parents, let me give you some compliments that connect your parents. So yeah, this is a really beautiful moment. Kenobi compliments her with qualities that come from her mother, wise, discerning, and kind-hearted, but then follows up by saying you are also passionate, fearless, and forthright, which are gifts from her father. That accentuates the closure that he's had with Anakin. Yeah. He can now love Anakin and hate Vader. Like, that's a beautiful difference to make. He says he wishes he could tell her more. She says it's okay. Kenobi says he'll always be available if she ever needs help from a tired old man. But they must be careful because it could endanger them both. She hugs him goodbye and says, goodbye, Obi-Wan. And this is, I think, according to canon, the last time they see each other. So I don't think
they ever see each other again.
Until Obi-Wan Kenobi season 2, Leia's in trouble again.
Maybe. But they say goodbye, Obi-Wan. It's really sweet, and says, may the Force be with you. The Force theme is there. And let's just stop there. Let's deal with those two scenes, and then we'll get to the cave and Qui-Gon and all that. So those two scenes, Mustafaar, Leia, and Alderaan with Kenobi. Shannon, thoughts on both of these scenes? Did they work for you? Did you like them? Even if you had some issues with the writing leading up to these moments, did you enjoy these scenes overall?
I did. The Mustafaar scene, especially, loved that we got sort of an unexpected cameo from Ian McDiarmid. I think we were all looking for Liam Neeson, that we didn't like, oh, that's right, the Emperor could pop up. Love the visual of Vader on that throne alone by himself with the Imperial March. Like, I do think they should have used the Imperial March before. That seems like something, a great asset to your show. Yeah. But I loved the moments. What was really funny about, like, I loved watching Leia, like, she puts on the blasterless holster. That moment with her mom, like, I thought that was really nice. Something that, because I always got thoughts. The moment that Ewan McGregor walks out of the shuttle and she seems so happy. Yeah. Then Lola comes out and she runs right past him. Like, to me, I'm like, why don't you say hello? And then he said, hey, I needed to return something. And then he. Have you ever been around a kid?
Your kid will go to the toy before they go to the human.
No, I'm not disagreeing with that. I'm saying he should have been the one to have kind of take Lola behind his back, like, hey, I needed to return this. So you can have that moment of, like, she's so happy to see Ben. He survived.
Gotcha.
And it's because it just felt a little like, you kind of took the air out there. But then the air was immediately recaptured by that moment where he's talking about the things that, her mother and her father gave her. Like, just beautiful work by Ewan McGregor in that moment. And that's the type of thing, like, I would love to watch sort of an assembly of those takes with sort of the, the unfinished effects. Like, that's the type of thing I would love to see the process. Like, how many takes did they do? How many different versions did they do? And how many times did it take him? Yeah. Because it was just such beautifully measured work. And they kind of fixed it where he's like, hey, we have to keep this secret.
Yeah.
I didn't find it completely satisfying that the moment that, he sees the message in A New Hope, that it seems very formal. But it's like, okay, well, yeah, that connects. Like, you can't act like you know me. This has to be sort of a formal request. So those two scenes, despite the Lola running past Obi-Wan moment, those two scenes I actually really, really liked.
Fair enough. Michael, thoughts on this? We talked about Vader throughout the episode, and this is the Vader button in this episode here. Thoughts on Vader throughout, but also in this scene here, and of course the Leia and Kenobi scene on Alderaan.
Yeah, I mean, I think the Mustafaar scene was great. I loved both scenes. I thought they were really great. I think the great thing about Vader here is that they managed, and this is hard to do. Like, I think they get a lot of credit for this. They managed to keep Vader, the super scary, intimidating Vader that we know from the original trilogy, and still have whiny, angry Anakin inside of him. And that's really hard to do. Like that, and I mean that in a good way. Like when Obi-Wan Kenobi walks away, despite whether or not he should have walked away, and Vader is beaten, and he's got the crack in the mask and the whole thing, and you hear Anakin's voice, you hear Vader's voice, but when he starts screaming at him, and he's like, Obi-Wan, like he's screaming, that's the Anakin from the prequels.
Yeah.
That is that angry kid who has a temper and is mad and just can't control his emotions, and they managed to have that work. Like, it really worked. And so then when you have this Mustafaar scene, we're all like, okay, well, now he knows Kenobi's out there. Why doesn't he spend the next 9 years going after him? Like, this is bullshit. Like, we're going to get to New Hope, and it doesn't make sense. And the Emperor calling him on his shit and being like, your feelings are out of control. Like, you are obsessed right now. You got to take a chill pill, brother. And watching that moment where Vader sort of sits back and is like, what is your bidding, my master? And you're like, okay, yeah. Like, we all think Vader gets to go run around the galaxy and do whatever he wants, but no, he's the apprentice here. Like, the Emperor is the master, and he has to do whatever that motherfucker says. And so just seeing him sort of be put on his leash a little bit, and seeing Anakin wanting to just like, I'm going to find him and I'm going to do this, and having to be like, oh no, this is my new life now, I thought was great.
Yeah.
I think everything Shannon said about the scene with Leia and Kenobi like everything he said, it was just so well done. It was this beautiful emotional moment. John, I completely agree with what you're saying. Like, I think this scene is there to show us that he does have that closure. Yeah. He now can talk about Anakin in a way that he couldn't before. Yeah. And look, I want to be really clear to everybody. When George Lucas made Star Wars in 1977, Princess Leia did not know who Obi-Wan Kenobi was.
Right.
She didn't know him.
Right.
They had no idea. Now she does, and they have to make it work. And I think what they did was pretty clever. Like him saying, we have to keep this a secret. Like, we have to do this. It actually justifies both scenes. Like, when you watch the formality that she has in the hologram, okay, she's keeping it on the DL. But when Luke runs in and goes, I'm here with Ben Kenobi, and she goes, Ben Kenobi, where is he? You're like, all right, if I squint a little bit, I feel like this all works for me. So I give them a lot of props while I am squinting and making it all work in my mind.
Fair enough. Laura, thoughts on these two scenes? What stood out for you? What really worked for you? Did anything not work for you in these exchanges?
I don't really have anything to add with Mustafaar. I like the scene, but nothing additional to add from the other comments. In terms of Alderaan, there was one thing that sort of stuck out to me, and I probably should have noticed this sooner, but there's a scene at the very beginning of this episode where Kenobi's looking down at his lightsaber, and we get kind of a close-up shot of it, which I'm sure there are close-up shots of it all over the internet. I just have never taken the time to look for it.
Yes.
So I never connected the dots before that Leia's saber in The Rise of Skywalker looks a lot like Obi-Wan's. And I just think that that's really sweet and really touching, and just a really nice touch, a great detail that, I don't know, somebody thought ahead at some point when they were making that movie. But this line, Kenobi says, well, if you ever need my help again, you know where to find me. And Bail answers, let's hope that day never comes, is a Padme line straight out of Attack of the Clones. So I like that they added that in. And I complained about this from the very beginning, that we were acknowledging a lot how Leia is so much like her mother, but I didn't think there was enough acknowledgement that she was, of all the ways that she's like Anakin. And I'm very glad that got an acknowledgement finally in this episode, because I stand by that. I think she's a lot like Anakin. Yeah.
And that's what works. That's what works so well when you're watching the show, for sure. And that was a great moment. But Vader is Anakin is just in a desperate pursuit for a father figure, and sadly falls into a very codependent relationship with this Emperor guy. So it's a shame. It's a shame because Qui-Gon is taken from him, and Kenobi never really fills that void. And then the Emperor comes along, and then he eventually kills him. So, it's just an interesting situation. All right, let's move on to the last section here. We'll get to you all Streamlabs and Super Chats afterwards. Send them now. We've got 460 of you watching us live. Thank you so much. Please hit that like button as you're watching us. Leave your Streamlabs and Super Chats. We'll answer them as we end the show here. All right, we go to Kenobi, who is back in the cave, packing up his stuff. And for those of you who were eagle-eyed Star Wars fans, you notice his robes, and it looks very similar to what he's wearing from the comic books and A New Hope. But even more so, if you look at how costuming is really reflective of emotional states of a person. At the beginning of the series, he's wearing these kind of darker robes, hiding himself. He's lost in his depression. A cave because essentially symbolized depression. He's clean, and when we go to him, he's standing more upright. He's got brighter clothes on. Everything is cleanly packed away. He's got the bag of parts for Luke. He's putting the 2 satchels on, and he's moving out of the cave. He's leaving his depression, and I think there's a great symbolism in that I really enjoyed. He no longer wants to hide away and watch from the shadows. He rides in to talk to Owen. Luke sees him coming. Owen says, "What are you doing here?" Ever the grump, Uncle Owen. What are you doing here? I thought you were going to keep your distance, right? Never mind that I just showed up to save Luke, but whatever. And Kenobi gives him all the credit. He says, "And I will. You're right. He just needs to be a boy. The future would take care of itself. The only protection he needs now, Owen, is you and Beru. Take good care of him." Walks away. Owen says, "I will," to himself. Then, in something that feels like Jenny telling Forrest Gump, "Do you want to meet your son?" He says, "Ben, you want to meet him?" Which is such a great moment. Then we see it from Luke's shot. We see Kenobi coming into the frame, looks right at Luke, and Kenobi with Ewan McGregor with perfect timing takes that pause and says, "Hello there," which is a great. And then we don't cut to Luke. We don't need to cut to Luke. It's brilliant that they hang on his face. Then Ben rides off in what looks like an homage to Lawrence of Arabia, which also starred Alec Guinness, by the way. Just as he comes to Beggar's Canyon, who do we see? Qui-Gon Jinn there as a Force ghost. Well, took you long enough. Ever the sassy Qui-Gon. Beginning to think you'd never come, is what Kenobi says. And Qui-Gon says, "I was always here, Obi-Wan. You just were not ready to see. Come on, we got a ways to go." Great ending music cue as we see Kenobi fade off into Beggar's Canyon. Michael, I rewatched this scene 5 times. I fucking love this scene for so much that it symbolizes for Kenobi and the way it ends and the way it ends the series. The series is a bit uneven maybe, but that ending was damn good. So talk to me. What did you think about this sequence and this scene here?
I thought it was all really lovely. I thought it was great. The only thing it was missing is I wish when Obi-Wan Kenobi had walked over to Luke, Aunt Beru had been just like up on the top with like a gun, just like keeping an eye on him. Like, "I'm watching you, buddy. I'm watching you, just sipping her blue milk." Be like,
6 feet. 6 feet.
You stay away, like, because she was the MVP of this episode. But no, I did think the whole moment with him and Luke and him and Uncle Owen was really nice. And then look, I also think that there was something that was really interesting when he kind of said to Owen, he was like, "You're right. He needs to just be a boy. He just needs to grow up." Like, I think the Kenobi at the beginning of the series is so like, has he started showing powers? We got to train him. We got to do this. We got to do this. And he's very like amped up. And I think him like learning to let go and just go, look, Luke is going to do what he's going to do, and it's going to be what it's going to be, is the way that the Jedi are supposed to use the Force, and it's also the way that Qui-Gon Jinn uses the Force. Like, Qui-Gon Jinn is very much not down with, like, Jedi Council stuff. Like, Qui-Gon Jinn was like, look, here's how the Force works. I'm going to do this. Like, oh, I'm here. This guy, he's got a pod race. I'm going to do this. All right. He's like, Qui-Gon Jinn just kind of goes with the flow. And so Obi-Wan Kenobi kind of getting to that moment with Luke where it's like he just needs to be a boy. And then that leads to him seeing Qui-Gon's ghost finally, I thought was very, very lovely. I also love that, like, Qui-Gon, of course, is the sassiest of the Force ghosts. Like, every other Force ghost shows up and it's a moment and it's like, oh, let's have a deep conversation. And he's like, yo, where you been? I just been chilling for a while. Let's have a party. Like, I just loved it. I thought it was great.
The problem is
I
you,
knew we
not
were like
me.
I was
always been here. The problem is you. Yeah.
he's like, bitch, I've been fine. You've had problems. And then he like flips his hair. But
Right.
I do think, I was getting nervous, like from the very get-go, knowing that we opened the series with him trying to talk to Qui-Gon. Like throughout the series, he's always been trying and trying and trying. So I was like, we gotta see Qui-Gon, right? And we were getting to the end. I'm like looking at that time bar and I'm like, I feel like if we don't see Qui-Gon, that's going to be a big miss. And then he just shows up and I'm like, yep, there it is. Lovely. I thought it was great. Again, I think what this series does well in the relationship with Anakin and Obi-Wan, with the Qui-Gon moment, I think it makes, like, I hate at the end of Revenge of the Sith when Yoda's like, oh, by the way, got 30 seconds left in the movie. But Qui-Gon Jinn learned how to be a mortal Force ghost. I'm going to give you some stuff to train on when you're on Tatooine. You got to figure it out. And I'm like, oh, God, George Lucas, why did you just throw that in to justify Force ghosts? But I kind of went back and watched the end of Revenge of the Sith also. And now, because we have this whole thing where Kenobi goes on this journey to see him, that line plays better. It just plays a little bit better now. Again, I'm doing a lot of squinting, but I like it.
Yeah. As long as you don't go blind, I think it still works for sure if you're squinting that much. Laura, thoughts on this scene here? What are your feelings? How did you feel about it? How many tears did you cry? Tell the truth.
Okay, so to be honest, some of this ending didn't really land for me. I'm like kind of on the opposite end of the spectrum. Let me
Laura
explain.
Kelly goes full McClung. Here we go.
Yeah, now it's on. Okay, so first thing, when I first saw Kenobi in the cave in his new outfit, I was like, yay, cool, new digs, like it. But he was wearing that belt, and I was like, wait a minute, is that Nari's belt from like the beginning of the episode? But then I'm like, I think Tika took it back. I don't think he kept it. I think that would have been a nice touch if he had kept it, and then he was like wearing it at the end. I don't know. It would have been a cute little detail I would have liked to have seen, but it's fine. That's a little nit. My other thing is one note. I love the hello there. I thought that was hysterical. Somehow I didn't see it coming. I was like very surprised that when that happened, and I was so delighted.
You were the Leonardo DiCaprio meme.
Yes, I was. And he said the thing, and that was the thing that he said that I forgot that we had that. It would have been nice to see that. And I am glad though that they stopped there and they didn't include like a high ground comment earlier in the series. I'm kind of glad we left that out. Like to be like we didn't go over the top with pulling some of these quotes back in. But I like that we brought in hello there because you can't leave that line out. Now, when it comes to Qui-Gon, another thing, as I was like, I think I was just like emotionally distraught by the time we got to the very end of this, because I also forgot that Qui-Gon hadn't shown up yet. I'm like, he's got to show up at some point, like through every episode. But by the time we got here, I was just like, okay, it's over. There's nothing left to see. And then boom, there he was. And we built up that Qui-Gon reunion, I feel like, so much throughout the series because he's constantly trying to contact him and it's not working. Yeah. And for some reason, this kind of didn't land for me. It just kind of felt like disconnected in some way. Like, and I'm not sure really why, like it kind of almost feels like Liam Neeson, like, probably wasn't in LA when they filmed this. Like, he, like, filmed this in London. Oh, yeah. So, like, that chemistry, like, wasn't there. I didn't feel it. It just didn't. I don't know. I think maybe it was because I was, already feeling so much through this whole episode. And I kind of wanted, when Qui-Gon showed up to get that, like, Deathly Hallows 2 moment where Harry Potter is like, why are you here, all of you, when the Resurrection Stone reunion happens, and Lily's like, we never left. And that's kind of what the feeling that I would have liked to get a little bit more just like of a touchy-feely something. But I think that may have just been like my own emotional state at the time. And this just felt disjointed when we got to this kind of silly, sassy Qui-Gon scene. It just didn't land for me. It's delightful. I think it's funny. I think it lands more when I watch it on subsequent viewings. But my first time around, I was kind of like, that's it. Okay, got it. That's everything.
Ronan Unchained has a quote from Dave Filoni for you right now. Interesting. Shannon, thoughts on this final scene here in the Kenobi series and in this finale?
Well, since Laura's come over to the dark side, I was so happy when he did show up, but I fully understand Laura's point of view. Bravo. Bravo, level 2. But no, I mean, I get it. Like it did seem, the performance seemed a little disconnected, and my guess, as it was with Laura, is like he probably did that by himself. In England or in Ireland, wherever he is right now. I love the idea of him showing up. The execution, I thought, left a little lacking, and especially because you're following that great scene where Obi-Wan gets to meet Luke. I mean, Joel, like we have not really talked about Joel Edgerton because he's only in 2 episodes. Yeah. But what a brilliant curmudgeon he plays. I mean, he's just such a crank.
He said you're gonna keep your distance.
In that moment where he's like that, hey, you want to meet him? Because even though he is letting him meet Luke, this is the same guy in 10 years or 8 years, whatever the time span is. This is the same guy who's like, that wizard's just a crazy old man. Yeah. You know what I mean? And Luke, having met Obi-Wan once and then doesn't see him again for almost a decade, like that, for me, that totally tracks. That totally lines up. The moment where Obi-Wan rolls up and says hello there, to me, that's like blackout. Like that's the end of the show.
Thank you. Yes. Oh. Yeah. That I would have appreciated that more, I think.
I think that's fair. You could have totally ended there. Okay. Michael, your thoughts on this on this. Oh wait, you already gave your thoughts on this final scene.
I could say it again if you want.
No, listen, it's, hour 45 minutes. Give me a break. I'm trying to.
We should have ended with him on the high note.
This is what I'll say. You all are too young for your damn good. When you get older, you'll appreciate that goddamn scene. It felt so good to me, and I loved seeing Qui-Gon there, and it was great. Listen, when you pass on, who do you want? You want people there who are going to meet you when you're moving on to your next thing. So
what about your advanced age makes this scene hit harder for you?
Because you're seeing when you're like, when I die, I want to see my dad kind of welcoming me to the next phase of whatever I'm going through.
Kenobi didn't die.
He didn't die, but his 10-year depression died, and he's in a whole new place now. And so Qui-Gon is welcoming into this next phase of his life, or his next phase of existence. And I love that. It works so well for me.
Depression doesn't have anything to do with old age. You can be young and depressed and work through it.
You interpret it your way. I'm going to interpret it my way. And
I'm trying to interpret what you said.
Yeah, I don't know if you are. Get on my level. I love what was happening.
Get on my level.
I love the stuff in the cave with the symbolism, as I already said, like him climbing out of the darkness in essence, right? And him coming, and you're right, the curmudgeon stuff, but him understanding, hey, I got to let it go. I can't be, because Michael, I think what you pointed out earlier is so correct. He initially, in the first episode, he is trying to make Luke pay for the mistakes he made with Anakin. He wants Luke to be better. So if I can train Luke, and he's better, then I can be forgiven for fucking up Anakin. He's essentially using Luke for himself. And that's where the mistake is in the first episode. When he goes to the end, after all he's been through in the finale, him saying to Owen, you're right. I need to let him be a boy, do his thing, blah, blah, blah. That's the actual way to train him and let him go. As you said, with Qui-Gon, it's the more hands-off approach. Let him be a boy. Instead of being like a stage parent and you're being all over him, you're letting him breathe and enjoy himself, and then he'll be a better Jedi down the road. I'm not sure he didn't see Octu coming, but he will be a better Jedi down the road. So it's a smarter move, and I love the way that plays. And then the end sequence, I loved it because it's just two old friends getting back together again. And give me sassy Qui-Gon any day. I dig sassy. Although someone pointed out something.
Where you been?
I love it.
Sass is always Obi-Wan's thing. I gotta say though, that was always his thing in the Clone Wars prequels.
One last thing, Laura, I want to say, and for you guys, a lot of people brought up the fact that they don't mention Anakin in their back and forth, and it's probably for the best. Maybe in season 2 they'll discuss Anakin.
Qui-Gon's like, wait, what happened?
Where were you? So yeah, there you go.
There actually is. I mean, this is just that there is a theory. I think I saw it on YouTube somewhere that Qui-Gon, when he's meditating, when he's in the force fields in Phantom Menace before he goes to attack Darth Maul, that he kind of does see how everything's gonna go. That he kind of does see that he jumps ahead. Like he's like, if I don't die and I train Anakin, this is where this is gonna go. But it has to all go the way it's gonna go. Like he's like, the way the Force is gonna go, the way the Force wills it, I'm gonna go ahead and die because I see where all this is going. I had a vision, which I think is kind of interesting. I don't know that I buy that, but I think it's interesting.
Yeah.
He Infinity War Doctor Strange is what you're saying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like this, the Grand Master of Cope. All right, let's move on to Streamlabs Super Chats as we wrap up here. That's pretty much the end of our spoiler review for this. Let's see. Fred Tastic says, "I love the growth of Leia from the first episode, when she was kind of a spoiled princess, to the last when she realizes she could help the children and Obi-Wan with their fear." Do you guys agree with that?
100% agree with that.
Yeah. Her story comes back around too, which is great.
Yeah,
I think she was always that person, but she was put in a position where she had to act.
Yeah, fair enough. Ronan Unchained said, "Michael and Shannon, I didn't forget. LOL. Did anyone catch either the Shadowcaster or a version of that ship on Alderaan? It's from Rebels. Obi-Wan meeting / rescuing Leia should have been done in the first 3 episodes. Felt stretched out for me." Okay. Did you guys catch?
You know what else felt stretched out? You know what else felt stretched out? Yeah. You saying hello to me and Shannon. Took a while.
Okay. Yeah. Wow. Can someone address the ship situation?
I didn't notice the Shadowcast, but I've seen a couple people, Rebels fans, point that out, that it was Ketsu Onyo's ship, I think, in Rebels. Yeah.
Okay. All right, you guys. Stubby1 Kenobi, hello, says, "My headcanon fills almost all, but understand that doesn't work for most people. 2 top 5 duels. Blue lightsaber being enveloped by red. I'm sorry, Anakin. Waterworks."
Yeah. Great moment.
I do want to say something about headcanon, because I do want to be clear. And like when we talk about this, and to Shannon's point about him hearing my voice in his head, like if your headcanon fills in the gaps of something you love, it is more than okay. Like if you watch something and you're like, okay, I don't quite understand why this happened, but I think this is why, and I really like that, that's golden. When you're like in production on a show, when you're getting the scripts in, when you're reading everything, when you're doing it, that's where you're like, okay, I don't know what your headcanon is, but I need to see it on the page. I need to see it on the page. So I think there's a lot of stuff here. Like, look, like I said, I really love this series, and I really like Moses Ingram as Reva. So I could sit here all day long and give you my headcanon on where she gets from A to B to C to D. And I am very biased, so I will think that it's great and amazing. But that's where when you critique this stuff, it's like, look, this is great, but here's the things that you could do to make something that was great even greater.
Yeah, I'm thinking about all the fights Mike and I used to have with our third roommate about movies, and how he hated him making a headcanon and saying,
"Oh my God, he did it all the time. It made me so mad."
You seem to have an issue with it back then, but apparently you don't now. So have the fights again. PC Williamson 1 says, "Leia's lightsaber must have been the only thing they thought out in advance in Rise of Skywalker." Hey, am I right, Vogel?
Shots fired.
Wow.
Oh my God. Oh, hey, Chewie, here's a medal for no reason.
Don't. Get me pissed. I don't want to get mad.
Emperor Palpatine is back. Somehow.
Wait, the guy that died 30 years ago? How do you still know his name?
Headcanon this. All right. Lewis Berry says, "I hope for season 2, if there is one, Yoda, Ahsoka, Cad Bane, Christopher Lloyd as Hondo. What? Kate Blanchett as Duchess Satine. Isn't Lloyd too old to play Hondo? I feel like Lloyd's a little too old.
That's a lot of makeup. Yeah, you can hide that.
Hondo lives a very long time. In the sequel trilogy, he's still fucking around in that too. Like,
Fair enough.
It's crazy.
Fair enough.
Kate Blanchett as Duchess Satine is a solid. I mean,
that's who she was based off of. I think she was designed to look like her.
Oh, was she? Well, then that is why. I am curious about Yoda. Like, listen. I do agree that we don't need to have a series where we represent where every character was at all times in the timeline, but I am curious what Yoda's been doing on day. Like, we know there's all this shit going down now, and Yoda's just like making some soup.
He's got bigger picture, man. He's older than everybody else.
I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility that Ahsoka could have been involved with the Path Network. If Leia learned about it and told Bail about it, and we know Bail's helping build the rebellion, and he was working with Ahsoka during the time of the novel, the Ahsoka novel. I'm like, it makes sense that she might show up at some point in something like this in like a pre-Rebels setting. But I watched that show.
Yeah, I'm down with that. Haunted_Autumn says, "There were weaknesses in the writing, to be sure, but by God, if they didn't nail Qui-Gon's lines. Those 2 lines perfectly embodied his spirit. I couldn't agree with you more, Haunted. Thank you so much.
You know what? I bet on the page they read brilliantly. That's just not what made it to the screen.
I wish he had a cigar.
How do you what?
like when he played Hannibal in the 8 scene?
Guys, wait, picture this. Obi-Wan Kenobi just going off into the desert. We see the Force Ghost appear. His back is to us. And he just turns around with a big cigar and goes, "Where you been?"
Obi-Wan would be like, "Is that a death stick? What are you?"
I love it when a plan comes together. Theral in Fiction says, Qui-Gon to Ben, so pancakes at Dexter's later, sir? Oh, boy.
Fuck. Yes. Where was Dexter? Oh, man. It's my boy.
Mike Gallagher just sent that. Oh, here we go. Mike Gallagher said, in A New Hope, Obi-Wan's last moment is looking at Anakin's children reunited and then smiling and sacrificing himself. So much better after this show. Oh. Fuck you, Mike. That was great.
Yeah. Oh. That's going to hit different.
Wow.
Holy shit, I never even caught that. Wow.
But there's also a little bit of that smiled into Vader, like, you dumb mofo. They are right there, and you have no idea.
That's true. Darn.
That's your kids.
Darth. Haunted_Adam says, I mentioned it before, but truly thank you all. So much of the joy of Star Wars, whether you love it or not so much, comes from sharing the experience. That's one of two, so I don't know if we'll get a second one. Oh, there it is. Sorry about that. Since the prequels, it has become increasingly harder to find a community that allows for that element of the fandom to take place. It means so much to me. I'm sure so many others think.
That's amazing. That's amazing. Because again, you will hear like we will talk about the things that work and the things that don't work. And at the end of the day, even if something doesn't work for one of us personally, that doesn't mean we don't like Star Wars. Like we're all four of us, I imagine. I mean, I don't want to speak for everyone, but all four of us are going to keep coming back because this incredible universe is so much fun to play in. It's so much fun to watch, and it's so much fun to talk about with people. Well, and even if you don't see eye to eye, that's okay.
Shannon, me and Laura and Rocha talked ahead of time, and you're actually not invited for any more Star Wars after the Kenobi stuff that you said.
I'm going to bring the dark side from now on. That's on me.
Look, Laura's
okay, you know what? The legacy lives on through Laura. I'm good. You know what? I'm putting my lightsaber up. Go ahead and swing, Vogel.
Lewis Berry, I want Vader show with James and Hayden. James Earl Jones, he's 91 years old. Let the man rest. Also, I do want to say something. I've seen, like, I've done voiceover. I'm a voiceover guy. I get it. I've seen some voiceover artists complaining about the AI. I get it. It's probably about a professional thing, and jobs could be taken. I understand, but it worked. It really worked.
It did.
And it was so much better than we heard him in Rogue One. It worked much better, and so. Keep doing this. I don't care how many voiceover artists you piss off. Keep doing this because the franchise is what matters. And if it works, then I got no complaints about it. I don't know about
it. Did not work as well for Luke in The Mandalorian, so stop that. But keep going with Vader. Thank you. That's all I have to say.
Wow, that's a fair point. McClung shall only become more powerful than you can possibly imagine.
I believe it.
All right, let's wrap it up there. Thank you all so much for joining us. Michael, any final thoughts on this Obi-Wan Kenobi series as a whole? And let's keep this quick so we can get out of here the next
look, it's like we've been saying, I think Kenobi represents exactly what Star Wars is, which is it's got great moments, it's got moments that don't work, it's got silly moments, it's got sad moments, it's got mythological moments, and Star Wars, for the most part, aside from maybe the first two movies, is always a little bit imperfect. But it always is great, and we love it. And so I think that Kenobi really, the whole series made me happy on the whole. I think it added to the Star Wars mythology. I think it added to the Anakin mythology. And if there's more of it, I'm here for it.
Okay. Good stuff. Ladies and gentlemen, we've got 460 of you all watching us right now, but only 229 likes. So as we're wrapping up, please move that cursor over. Literally takes you 2 seconds. Hit that thumbs up button. And if you're watching later, do that and leave a comment down below. Laura, thoughts on the final your final thoughts overall on the first season here of Kenobi?
Overall, there were some scenes I think that felt a little bit claustrophobic with the volume, a little bit like we were filming in like a low ceilinged room or something. But I chalk that up to being the first season, and I think that's technology that's only going to improve as we keep going.
Yeah.
And I look forward to hopefully maybe a second volume of this show. Like we're getting a second volume of Visions. You never know. It was a limited series, but maybe we'll get more. And then lastly, Michael talked a lot about seeing this episode through squinted eyes. And all I have to say to that is only when the eyes are closed can you truly see.
Oh, bam!
Oh, there it is. Laura for the win. Shannon, that's how you do it.
As someone, Todd McGreen said, Laura bringing a Star Destroyer to a lightsaber. Like, Jesus.
This is my way.
That is the way. And Joseph saying something really sweet, saying it was a good show for a father to watch with his daughter.
Oh, yes.
I respect that,
that.
Joseph. Absolutely. Shannon, final thoughts on Kenobi as a whole here, brother. What do you walk away feeling as you think about the season now?
You know, as much as it did not check off all the boxes for me, I love seeing Ewan McGregor. I love that we got the return of Hayden Christensen, and you know, I thought it worked really well. There were more misses than hits, but the hits that did work were so incredibly fun to watch. It is a show that there will be moments and episodes that I'll definitely pop back on and enjoy. But more than anything, I loved talking about it with you two and occasionally Vogel.
Oh, wow. There it is.
Insult me, and I will become more powerful than you could ever imagine.
Louis Berry saying nothing live action TV Star Wars has touched Mando. Maybe Andor can do it. Yeah, that's our next one. And Andor, 12 episodes, 2 seasons. It's going to be a heck of a thing once that gets going, and I can't wait. My final thoughts are this. You know, every once in a while you see a movie and it's carried by the star. Does the overall movie become great? Yes, a little bit, because the star performance is so good. And I would say here, certainly Ewan McGregor was incredible throughout the whole series, and he is the reason to watch this thing. If you're going to go back and rewatch it, he is one of the main reasons to watch this thing. Hayden Christensen getting the occasional moments was great. Vivian Lynn Blair was great to discover as well. We don't get enough with Tala. We don't get enough with Roken. We don't get enough with these other characters. And Moses Ingram eventually comes around, in my opinion, as an actress in the piece with the work. So there are things, positive things to enjoy, but the number one thing is to watch Ewan McGregor sliding into Obi-Wan Kenobi again and delivering a very moving, touching, and incredible performance. And I won't be surprised if he gets nominated for this for an Emmy or a Golden Globe or something, because I think he thoroughly deserves it, and he stands out in every single one of his scenes, and especially in this finale. So it was great to watch. Yes, it was a clunky at times. Are there things they need to work out? If there's a second season of Kenobi, hopefully they do a little more time, a little more breaking down of these overall stories and these overall scripts to deliver an even more powerful series down the road. But this wasn't a bad first one for sure to start off, and we'll see if we do get a second one. Real quick poll: Mike, Laura, Shannon, do you want a season 2? Mike, season 2.
I do want a season 2, but you need to go back into the chat because the naked person is back.
Oh no! Okay, I'm blocking him right there. I just blocked him. All right, fair enough. Laura,
they ruined such a touching ending. Yes, I want a second season.
And sex bots. Laura, thoughts on the, it's not, yes or no?
Yes, 100%.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Shannon?
To see Ewan McGregor in it again, 100%.
Yeah, I have to agree with that. A unanimous yes. Second season just to see Ewan do Obi-Wan again. And now that he's free of having to take care of Luke, and we've put that to bed for all of us who watched the first season, he can go off and have these adventures, and we can enjoy them as well. All right. Thank you all so much for joining us. We appreciate it, madly. Thanks for all the Streamlabs and the Super Chats that came through. You all are very kind. As I said, as we're wrapping up, please hit a like on this video. Please leave a comment down below as well. Shannon, what do we have to tell them?
Yeah, if you'd like to follow us on social media, on Twitter, it's @geek_buddies, on Instagram at @the_geek_buddies. If you'd like to follow me on social media, on Twitter, it's @Shannon_McClung, on Instagram at Shannon the Geek Buddy. If you would like to follow Mr. Vogel, it is @MK2, and if you would like to follow Mr. Rocha, it is @TheRochaSays.
Mikey?
If you enjoyed this live discussion about Star Wars and you are not a sex bot, we would like you to stay around. And here is how you can help us continue to do what we do. Definitely hit that like button below. Do it right now. If there's 400 and some of you, there should be 400 and some likes. It takes 2 seconds. Go do it. Just do it. Subscribe to Johnny's Outlaw Nation page. Check out all the amazing content he's got with me, with Shannon, with Laura, and with other people. He is a very popular guy. Leave your comments below. The chat next door has been really, really fun. But we we want to see the chat below as well. Like, let us know your final thoughts. Let us know where you netted out on everything. What did you love? What did you hate? What do you want to see more of? What do you want to see less of? If you are listening to us on Spotify or Apple Podcasts or anywhere podcasts are available, leave us some stars and some comments to help us go up in the rankings. And as always, the best thing that you can do is retweet this video, post it on your socials, send it to your friends, and tell them to hang out with your buddies, the Geek Buddies.
There you go. And a big, big thank you to Laura Kelly for joining us yet again for another review series. Laura, you bring so much to the show. I'm telling you, we cannot talk Star Wars without you. The first 3 reviews just didn't quite have that same magic having you come on for the last 3 episodes. Thank you so much for doing this, and I think we all benefited from it, whether you were on the show or watching the show. Thank you, Laura.
Thank you so much for having me, guys. I really appreciate it. I always have such a great time talking about Star Wars with you guys, and I love the different perspectives you bring, and I'm just happy to be a part of that.
Fair enough. Where can people find you and everything you got going on, Laura? Thank you so much.
Sure, come follow me on Instagram and Twitter at @shutup_Laura, and I'm one half of the podcast Force Toast, a Star Wars happy hour, which is Force Toast Pod on Twitter. And stay tuned right here to the Outlaw Nation for new episodes of The Jedi Way with me and John Rocha coming soon.
Absolutely. Thank you all so much. Is there anything else to say? No, there's nothing else to say. Go take care of yourselves. Be well. Have a great rest. Enjoy your weekend. And we will talk to you next time with another brand new spoiler review episode here from the
Geek
Buddies.
And Laura Kelly again at some point soon. Who knows?
Hey! All right, bye.